What is up, everybody? This is your boy Watts. This is Smash. And this is Campus Crashers. Let's go! Someone in here is taking up all the space in this here town, and it sure as heck ain't me.
Controversy brewing tonight over a trio of bills some parents say push a, quote, transgender agenda.
Parents told stories of lost custody, citing gender affirmations and identity as a cause, and expressed concern over the bill's supposed scope.
I think one of the turning points was when I received a text message when he was 2 years old of my son in a dress. That's all I wanted to do was hold my son.
When did this become an issue to get engaged about is when it stopped being a thing for adults to deal with, and it started to be a let's tell kids that it may be that they can be the opposite sex.
You could say anything about your gender or sexuality and the teachers would just nod along and be like, that's valid.
Teachers and counselors have zero background and training to deal with gender dysphoria. To me, it's criminal.
There's a war on children right now.
Why would you do that? It's not based on science. It is an ideology of harm.
This is a weaponized use of a parent's sympathy and caring and concern by the left to destroy your child.
Ow!
Another chapter opened in this young girl's life.
People want truth right now. They don't want sanitized secular talking points with worship music. They don't want rock concerts and TED Talks called church. They want the truth of the Word of God in a time of chaos and crisis. We play to win at Turning Point USA. No more happy talk, no more sitting on our hands. They're coming after our kids, so we launched TPUSA Faith. I've had a chance to speak at over 150 churches across the country. We have over 2,000 pastors as part of our network. I could keep on going, but look, my heart is for liberty, which is God's idea, not man's idea. It's time to play to win for once.
I think our culture is so soft, and unless we realize the complexity of our bodies and how God has made us to endure hard things as men, then we'll continue to be soft.
I'm so reborn. I'm moving forward. Keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. Ain't no stress on me, Lord. I'm moving forward. Keep moving forward.
Oh, hi.
Our border, I've never seen it this bad. The amount of human smuggling is just unbelievable.
Hamas is a terrorist organization.
White people!
How old is that?
Kinds of people.
We play offense with a sense of urgency to go to places that we are in the ideological and philosophical minority. And our Turning Point USA students and chapters are doing that every single day. 50 years we've been asleep, and now we recognize and realize how deep the infection has gone. And people say, what do I do? What do I do? Now the fight begins. That's why you're here. Every single day we should be thinking about what is the new thing I can build. Our message to the media and to the left is that we are going to outlast you. We will out-organize you. We are going to out-create you. There is no room for negotiation. There is no middle ground. There will only be one winner. We are Americans, and we are going to win.
I'm convinced that the American church has arrived at a significant moment of truth.
We are only 75, 80 years removed from 3 separate regimes that killed 60 to 70 million people intentionally.
The parallels with where the American church is now to where the German church stood in the face of the Nazi regime are unavoidable and grim.
Churches need to understand really what Marxism is, which is to destroy the church, to destroy the Word of God.
So if you capture the seminaries, you capture the pastors, you capture the laity, you capture the soul of the world.
Christianity is not just about saying Jesus loves you and then going to heaven one day, but that there's a war that's raging.
The church is weakening, which is why Marxism is ascendant in America today.
This is the hour of the American church.
You get tougher when you have to debate and you have to defend your positions. The left is weak.
Conservative ideals are under attack on college campuses. Now is the time for our students to stand up for what is right and stand up for freedom.
Any skirt on, take my body in glitter. Platform sneakers, all the boys want a picture. Foreign cars, I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby, I'm not going home.
I'm Paige Rue, just a girly girl raised in the gun world. This is my family. I have a passion for firearms and empowering Americans to exercise their Second Amendment rights.
I'm gonna do a competition.
Yeah?
So you'll be my first one. We'll see how you do.
And this is our world, Shooter's World.
Civilization is now beginning to collapse and very
A country divided.
must not lose sight of who it is we are fighting for.
The U.S. military is in the middle of what is a massive recruiting drought.
Parents need to get a grip and face the fact that this generation of children is growing up in a very different America.
Transgender women, people born male but who identify as female, are winning many competitions, dominating girls' track meets.
The crisis on the U.S.-Mexico border is intensifying as
we see time and time again where our agents risk their lives to save those that are in danger.
We may have fallen far from who they fought for us to be, but we still honor what we came from. And we will fight to preserve a country where our kids can still dream big. In this land, created by something greater than all of us. We know there will be moments that nearly break us. But it is up to us to choose if we can turn them to be great. Because this is what America really is. Being unafraid of the challenges ahead of us. And stepping up when we are called. Years ago, this movement was born as a beacon of hope to save this nation. And what we have learned is that if you commit to making a difference, you will be surprised to see how far it can take you. America has been hurting, but it is not broken.
These people know only how to rule by fear. What was once up is now down. Why? Because there is an institutionalized attack carried out on everything that we believe to be fundamentally important. The history teaches us one thing, is that once you give your rights away, it's very hard to get them back. As we all know, the left will prefer to have a mental safe space for you than to actually have you enjoy security and safety.
Cancel these communists immediately and say, get the hell out of my private life.
Wow. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Oh, thank you. I love you too. Hey, guys, so as you could probably tell from the ridiculously long last name, I am visiting you all the way from the Netherlands. And boy, when I stand on a stage like this with these smoke machines and everything, do I feel European. We don't have anything like this going on in Europe, and this is my first time at AmFest, and I could, yeah. And it is an absolute honor to be here and to be a part of it. Seriously, guys, God bless the United States of America. When I go to events like this here in your beautiful country and I meet so many extraordinary people like yourselves, I get exactly why they call this country of yours the land of the free and the home of the brave. You guys are so full of life, fighting spirit, and faith. And in the current state of our world, those things are so desperately needed, especially the last thing, faith. I talk about this all the time. America and Europe are facing incredibly similar problems. And that's because we are under attack by the same sick globalist agenda. As a result of that, my continent finds itself in rough waters, and that is to put it mildly. Europe is being flooded with immigrants from non-Western countries. Our national identities are being destroyed and replaced. Our sovereignty is given up to bureaucrats, unelected bureaucrats, may I add, in Brussels. Our churches are closing their doors, and we are spending billions and billions of euros on a non-existing climate crisis and a war in Ukraine that isn't even ours. In fact, I would go as far as to say that we are paying for our own destruction. And now, as a political commentator, you all know that I've been extraordinarily preoccupied with the attack, the organized attack on our beautiful civilization. But my background is actually in law. And if there is one pattern that I have noticed over that there is an attack carried out against our constitutional rights, our liberties, and our property rights. And one of the tactics that the globalists use to permeate their agenda is by flipping the presumption of innocence around and turning it into a presumption of guilt. Now, for those of you who don't know, the presumption of innocence is one of the most important legal principles of free democratic societies. It is the idea that every person accused of any crime is proven until is innocent until proven guilty. It means that you cannot be stripped of your rights unless the government has sufficient proof of your wrongdoing. They cannot lock you up just because you said something that they don't like, just because they don't like you, or because you disagree with them. It is this very principle that sets us apart from totalitarian regimes. Supposedly, at least. Because with the current state of the rule of law in the Western world, and also here in America, I can tell you I am very worried. I don't have to tell you about the political trials being carried out here in your nation. Let's name the former president, President Trump. Somebody is around here. Steve Bannon, and dare I say, people condemned by mob rule like Derek Chauvin and some of the January 6th protesters. But even we, ordinary people, are increasingly treated by our establishment and by our government as criminals. We find ourselves in situations all the time where we have to prove to the state that we are not criminals. Let me give you a few examples. During the COVID pandemic, we all remember it. Those of us who were unvaccinated were treated like grandma killers. The people who, for some reason, were the cause of the pandemic, and because of us, it didn't end, right? I think you had a winter of death here. That never happened. We were accused of that, and we had to prove our innocence, in this case our health, to the state all the time to partake in everyday life by getting these tests shoved up our noses. And of course, the pandemic is over, finally. But those of us who now oppose the next steps, like digital identity or central bank digital currencies, and we say, no, actually, we want to use cash money. We now are accused of being covert money launderers who must have something to hide. And those of us who do not want to eat the bugs, who like our steaks, we are being accused of destroying the entire planet. Heck, the other day in the Daily Mail in the United Kingdom, there was a headline that said that breathing causes climate change. Now, you're the carbon they are trying to reduce meme is becoming a little too real for my liking. And that might sound funny, but we have to think about what that means. We don't just have to prove our innocence, but we now live in a time where we have to justify our entire existence to our Malthusian overlords. And so I cannot stress enough, ladies and gentlemen, how critical it is that we recognize and reject the manipulative argumentation that they confront us with. Because what the people who use these types of arguments are trying to instill in you is that your rights are dependent on your compliance and your obedience. But if there is one thing that your founding fathers understood, it is that your rights are your rights, not because the government says so, but because God says so. You here in America have unalienable rights that are endowed upon you by your Creator. Never forget that. I mean it, because in the Netherlands, where I am from, our Constitution doesn't state that. And over the past few years, I have seen with my own eyes what the consequences are, the detrimental consequences are, if your Constitution does not state that. During the pandemic, protesters and dissidents who went out to protest, people who exercised their fundamental rights and opposed the tyrannical government mandates were met with extreme police violence in my country. And may I remind you of the Dutch farmers' protests? As you know, I was very much involved in that. And those brave farmers who objected to the state's plans to just rob them of their land, also they were met with extreme police violence. They even shot at a 16-year-old boy that was driving away from a completely peaceful protest. They missed his head by 1 inch. So please allow me, as a European woman who is not even legally allowed to carry pepper spray, to tell you, hang on to that Second Amendment of yours for dear life. And one other thing that I urge you to hang on to that is much more important and will offer you much more protection than your Second Amendment is your faith in God. Your faith in God is what will give you the strength and courage to counter every single lie that you are faced with. It is what will point you back in the direction of the good, the true, and the beautiful. And sure, sometimes things get tough. I know. But rejoice in the wins that we've already made. Because I don't know about you guys, but I can feel in my gut that something has shifted. Something is changing. The tide is turning, and the nationalist right wing is making win after win. Even in my homeland, one of the most liberal nations on earth, 1 in 4 people went out to vote for the so-called far right. The genie is out of the bottle, ladies and gentlemen, and intimidation game has finally lost its power. Don't mistake my hopefulness for naiveness, though, because yes, a day may come when the courage of men fails. But those of you who love Lord of the Rings know what I'm about to say. Today is not that day. If you fear God, then you fear men, you will become unstoppable. So when you leave this wonderful conference, remember one thing. Always be a radical in the fight against evil. And let me end this speech with a few words, just one phrase from your great American poet, Walt Whitman. It is my personal motto in life, and I hope it will become yours. Ladies and gentlemen, resist much, obey little. Thank you very much.
Teachers and counselors have zero background and training to deal with gender dysphoria. To me, it's criminal.
There's a war on children right now.
Why would you do that? It's not based on science. It is an ideology of harm.
This is a weaponized use of apparent sympathy and caring and concern by the left to destroy your child.
Another chapter opened in this young girl's life.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, you got to give it up for the detransitioners. We got Identity Crisis, a big documentary coming out. This is a super important topic. I'm very honored to get to come out and moderate this panel. What we're facing really is an identity crisis that's being foisted on our culture, on our society, on our children in particular, and we're going to put a very personal touch on that. I want to open up just by talking a little bit about how serious this crisis is and kind of where it's coming from. I'll quote actually from, as I do, you guys saw me yesterday, I quote from the academic literature very frequently, and I want to tell you about a queer theorist in education. This is a guy that writes academic papers and books. His name is Kevin Kumashiro, and he has a paper that he wrote a number of years ago where he explains that the purpose of bringing queer theory into education, which they call queer education, queer pedagogy, the purpose is in fact to induce personal identity crises and make use of those to open up the possibilities for queer futures for the people that they do that with. But now we're talking about children in schools. So the goal that they have is to induce an identity crisis and make positive for them use of that crisis to drive their agenda to damage families, to damage faith, to damage our country, but more importantly to damage individuals who become the agents of change for that agenda. And this has gripped at the highest levels of our institutions. This has taken over virtually everything, as you are probably well aware. This is in the schools, as you've heard, but it's not just in the schools. It's the guidance directly coming from the U.S. Department of Education and its Office of Civil Rights which was long before the Bostock decision, making advances into claiming that gender identity and sexual orientation actually should be treated under Title IX provisions. So it's very legal. The Office of Civil Rights has been pushing that, and now they have the Bostock decision backing them up. The good Justice Gorsuch, who is not exactly one of the liberal justices, actually wrote the decision for Bostock, explaining on very flawed logic that, in fact, the prosecutor in the case pointed out, giving away the story themselves is flawed logic, that if you discriminate based on transgender status or gender identity status at all, then that means you must have discriminated based on knowing the sex of the person somehow. This is completely flawed logic, and this means it's deeply embedded in our jurisprudence at the Supreme Court. We have this problem in virtually every medical association has taken this up. We have it from the American Psychiatric Association, which is about to publish a horrifying guide that will be used to try to derail the lawsuits against this. The American Psychological Association has been pushing it for years. You may remember a few years ago they published a document actually articulating that traditional masculinity should be treated as a mental disorder. This is a rampant ideological takeover of the American Medical Association. So we have it deeply in everything. We have this program in our schools called Comprehensive Sexuality Education, which you may or may not have heard of, that has replaced what was already controversial, which was sex education. Comprehensive sexuality education takes everything that used to be in sex ed, anatomy, physiology, safety, you know, the basics, the nuts and bolts, how does it work, the birds and the bees, as it were, and it adds in other pillars like sexual citizenship and pleasure-based sex education, which is now a huge push. I'm not joking. And where does comprehensive sexuality education, which is already mandated in some states and is spreading, where does that come from? The United Nations. UNESCO created the program in 2003 and has pushed it so widely. I had the pleasure of being in London recently, and I spoke with a man from Kenya who told me that it's in Kenya's schools. Not just America, not just Canada, not just Britain, Kenya. Well, what in the world do they have? Well, they're a UNESCO member state just like we are. President Trump took us out, by the way. President Biden put us back. So this is deep. This is a deep crisis. Now, I don't want to go on and on and on about how big this problem is and how we need to be digging into this, how we need to be looking. We all saw Bud Light, right, with the Dylan Mulvaney beer can thing. Ugh. We all saw that. Well, we didn't parlay that. We think we won. We didn't win. We didn't parlay that to the next step. The next step would have been to have congressional hearings asking them, why in the world did you do this? What was the role of the nonprofit organization called the Human Rights Campaign in setting up a corporate equality index that all these entities have to play by, all these corporations have to play by? Why are all of our corporations doing this? Well, they're scored to do it. There are financial incentives and punishments if they don't do it. We need that exposed. But we also need to see the personal side of this. So I'm joined on the stage by many of the people in the documentary. We've got a couple of detransitioners here who are very brave young ladies, Laura Becker, Chloe Cole. This is the most important voice in America against this problem right now. Young women and some young men like these, Chloe, Laura, thank you. We've got a psychologist, a clinical psychologist, Joe Brugo, who works with these people in detransitioners and people going through gender confusion and other things in his practice. And we've got an everyday dad from California who's losing his son because this is also at the state of California level based off of all of that corruption that I opened up with for this crisis. And I want you to take home how personal all that administrative, bureaucratic, evil, academic nonsense. I want you to understand what the impact looks like in everyday lives. And so I think that queer theory represents the doctrine of a religious cult. I think it creates identity crises to move children into destruction. I think that because it's in their own words that I read and quote. And so I want to hear from you, Laura and Chloe, first about if that resonates with your experience. What has your experience been? Tell a little bit of your story. Since you're closer, Laura, you get to go first.
Everything that James just said is 100% true. I lived through the cult. I never thought that I would be indoctrinated. I never thought that I would be part of a fad. I was diagnosed in the autism spectrum when I was 11 years old, and I was also diagnosed with a hormonal disorder, polycystic ovary syndrome. I developed severe depression, anxiety, and I also had chronic abuse from a parent. I had undiagnosed post-traumatic stress disorder, and I was overall a very vulnerable and isolated child. And when I was in middle school, I found Tumblr. And on Tumblr, that's where all the misfits gathered. And Tumblr is also where the queer ideology spread. And by the time I was 15, I started identifying as genderqueer, as non-binary. And I started having symptoms of gender dysphoria, ruminating, obsessing about my female body and anatomy, and just overall feeling unlovable as a female. And eventually, when the suicide ideation became so pervasive that I felt hopeless, I turned to one of the only things that was presented as a solution to me, which was to medically and socially transition. And so at 18, I came out as a transgender male. 19, I was prescribed testosterone, which I injected weekly into my thigh. And at 20, I had a radical double mastectomy to remove my healthy breasts. And I was suicidal when I underwent those procedures. I had complex PTSD when I had those procedures, and I was brainwashed when I had those procedures. And so I absolutely agree that it is a cult. It is an existential, shallow solution to the spiritual void that we're all living through right now in this moment, but especially for young people. There was a spiritual void, there was an attachment void, a familial void, a sexual void. I was empty inside, and I was trying to fulfill myself by becoming a higher version of self that was actually a false version of self. And so absolutely, James, that I lived through the cult, and I'm very grateful to say that I've come out on the other side, and I'm so grateful to be with all of you today. Thank you.
Look at that. All right, Chloe. I see you nodding, Chloe. Tell us your story.
Yes. I really feel like I resonate with what you, James, and especially with what you, Laura, said. I definitely had a lot of the same issues growing up. I had autism, but it went undiagnosed for years until I was an adult. Very much a creative type, definitely thought outside of the box. And I had been sexually traumatized. And none of that was really ever addressed in therapy. It was all very much made about my gender, my sex, the way that I was born being the issue rather than these experiences that I'd had in my life. I feel like because we were born at different times, I just so happened to be growing up in the time when they started changing the standards of care and allowing children younger and younger to go through this. So I was a kid when I started transitioning, both socially and medically. I started to feel dysphoric at about 12 years old, after having an early puberty at 9 years old. That early development, it made me feel like I was being treated and seen as an adult while I still had the mind and body of a child. It was incredibly difficult to deal with. I was afraid of the responsibility of becoming a woman, of the possibility of becoming a mother, of how people might take advantage of me, my femininity. And there were times when I felt as though I would be happier. I would be a better person if I were born male, if I were a boy. And I started to actually believe that I was a boy once I was introduced to the transgender community online. And after I came out to my mom and dad, which I did through a letter, they wanted to be supportive of me, but they were also very cautious. And so they started sending me to therapy because they didn't feel like, because they didn't really understand the subject very much at the time, it was very novel to them that they would need further help in raising me through this. They didn't really expect that by seeing a psychologist, I would just be funneled further and further into this pipeline, rather than them going deeper into my issues, trying to figure out where these feelings were coming from. I was only really affirmed in the idea that I was made wrong, that I had to fix myself, that in order to self-actualize, I'd have to be reliant on medication for the rest of my life. And so at 13 years old, I was placed on Lupron as a puberty suppressant. I was put on testosterone to replace my natural female hormones. And at 15 years old, when I was just a sophomore in high school, that was when they removed my breasts surgically. And I stopped transitioning less than a year later, because I realized that I was, in fact, a very feminine woman, that I wanted to embrace my femininity, that I had a maternal instinct, that I wanted to become a mother, and that by transitioning, I was losing parts of my identity, not gaining. I was losing parts of my adulthood, of myself as a woman. And if I kept living in this fantasy of transition, I never would fully grow up. It was a tough journey back. I lost all my support from my doctors, from the transgender community. But I made it back. And I mean, I'm just so incredibly thankful for the support that I've had from my family during this time, from all of you. And since I was 17 years old, I've been speaking out about my experience, using the pain that my family and I went through to try and help the other children, the other men and women and families whose lives are being destroyed by this.
So proud and happy to be sitting up here seeing you all stand up and cheer for these detransitioners. It's such a big thing. It is so important, and I'm so glad to see the support. It makes me very proud to have come to Turning Point this year. Actually, this moment does. I want to turn to you, Joe. You're a clinical psychologist. You treat people in similar conditions to what the ladies have explained. Do you care to explain a little of what you're hearing from them, how common that is in your practice, and maybe some of the changes that your profession has undergone in the last few years?
Right. So the stories that I'm hearing today are very familiar to me from the perspective of the detransitioners I work with in my practice. Feeling of isolation, being a misfit, having undiagnosed medical problems, deep feelings of shame about themselves, as if there's something wrong with them. And then they encounter this ideology that says, oh, that's because you're trans, and this will be the answer to all your difficulties. In my profession, it's called diagnostic overshadowing. It's because the minute gender enters into the picture, everything else goes by the wayside. It's understood that all of these other issues are a result of gender dysphoria and will be cured by transition. Of course, it's a complete fiction. And then when young people like Chloe and Laura figure it out, then they have to deal with all those mental health issues that weren't addressed before transition. Plus, they've got the incredible trauma and shame of having gone through transition, being attacked by the community that used to support them. It's a really horrible situation for these young people. The other part of my practice that I see is I see young people who are sent to me by their parents. They're trans-identified, and they're struggling with these issues. And the problem for me as a therapist in working with them is that I can't say exactly what I think is true because I've got a licensing board and a profession who is telling me that if I don't affirm these trans identities, then I'm committing malpractice, and they could come after my license. So it's like practicing with one arm tied behind your back. It's very frustrating work because you can't just come out and say, you know, it's impossible for you to change sexes and this is a cult that you've fallen into. You can never say that. And finally, the other part of my practice that I deal with is I consult with those parents. And this is the hardest part. I've been through it myself personally with my own daughter, but this feeling of helplessness that these parents come to, and they will say to me, my child never had any gender-related issues, and the whole world is now telling them that they're trans. The school, the doctors, the other mental health professionals, what can we do? We're completely helpless, and boy, talk about feeling useless as a mental health professional. I often do feel pretty helpless. All I can do is really, empathize with them and commiserate, having been through it myself. It's a horrible situation for parents in the world today.
Wow, thank you, Joe. This institutional capture where you can't practice your profession and you feel as helpless as the parents involved is indicative of how serious this identity crisis problem is. And that's what, of course, tees up Adam Vina perfectly. So here we have just a regular dad, right? Just a regular dad going about his day. I'm not going to steal his thunder. I want him to tell a little bit of his story. But instead of a professional board weighing down on him, it's everybody's favorite state of California. And that's right. Thank you.
California's actually...
Boo. Sorry, Californians that are based. We appreciate you. So go ahead, Adam. Tell us what's happened with you and how this institutional problem that Joe's talking about in his profession is what's informing the state of California and other states to impact your life the way that you're being impacted. So go ahead and tell people what's going on with you.
Yeah, I'm a father of a now 5-year-old boy. And what now I know is called grooming or brainwashing started at 2 years old. His mother started to dress him in girls' clothes at 2. And we spoke about it, and I thought it had stopped, but on my son's 3rd birthday is when he told me that his mom had bought him a pink princess dress. I got down on one knee and I looked him straight in the eye, and the way I'm going to tell you guys is exactly the way I told my son. I said, hey, buddy, you're a boy, and boys don't wear dresses. He said, okay, Daddy, and we went back to cake and ice cream. Thank you. So a few days later, I sent out a group of text messages basically telling my son's mother that what I told my son, he's a boy, don't dress him in girls' clothes. And in those groups of text messages got me onto a temporary restraining order. That temporary restraining order lasted 3 years. And in that time, I was completely taken away from my son. The judge out of California gave me only 2 FaceTime conversations a week with my son. I've had to go through anger management. I've had to go through parenting classes. They weren't even called parenting classes. They were called child abuse classes. So I was sitting in a group full of parents that actually did abuse their child, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, why am I here? I have done nothing to my son. And it has now spiraled completely out of control. They have removed me of all my father's rights, my parental rights. The judge ordered a gender assessment to be done on my son. I requested to sit in on this assessment. They denied me that. I had hired my own child therapist not to sway left or right, but to sit in on the assessment just to figure out how they're going to get to each step. And in my son's case, they didn't treat my son A, B, C, D, and all the way up. They went from A to Z with my son. I requested to have a phone conversation with the doctor, and I was denied that. The last 4 years has been one-sided. Not one time has opposing counsel, minors counsel, or the judges sat me down and asked me, the father, what I think is going on with my son. And now they refer to my son as my daughter in court. My son now has she, her pronouns, and my son now goes by a girl's name. His mother sent a letter to the school basically stating that at 4 years old at the time, that my son Aiden is now full transgender and that he is ready to come out. She is ready, I hate to say that, sorry, but she is ready to come out and meet the world. And if you have any questions, I have books and information to share with you. And that was in the email that a parent had sent me. I would never have known about this email if it wasn't for the parent. And I'm going on 4 Christmases without my son. We are now in the middle of trying to file an appeal with the state of California to try to slow down this, in my situation, this child abuse. Anytime I bring up the child abuse, the doctors or the police department or anything like that, they tell me I'm crazy and that I need to go see a therapist for making these false accusations against the attorneys, the judge, and my mother, and my son's mother. So it's been a nightmare 4 years, and it's still not over yet because now I'm the judge. Another judge in California has granted a 5-year restraining order against me. So that'll put me 8 years without my son, and at 10, that's when I'm understanding that they can start my son on the medications.
It's horrifying. It's horrifying. It's a horrifying story. Thank you, Adam, for your courage in telling it in a crowd like this.
Thank you.
So we've only got a few minutes left, but I want to kind of create an arc toward what people think what each of you think we might be able to do about some of this. But I just want to point out that what we see here is that we see young people who are struggling, who then go for help, and what they end up with is, was it therapeutic overshadowing? Is that what you call it? That turns into state overshadowing, which is also called tyranny. And this is the situation that this identity crisis faces here in America. And before I switch the solutions, we might go a little over. Sorry, guys. I want to ask one question of you, Laura, because last night we talked about this, and you said something that stuck out to me, and you got to be really brief, but that this experience you had turned into a channel to bring you into radical activism. And if you could just a few remarks on that, just so people can hear that there's, why is this happening? Well, we create radical activists out of people if we do this.
Teenagers are always rebelling. That's their default and natural state. That's developmentally healthy. But what we're seeing today is an increase in academia, K-12 education, and media pushing young people to become radicalized so that they can become fighters for far leftist causes, communism, and authoritarian sorts of measures where there's censorship of speech and expression and thought. And that's what happened to me. I was on Tumblr. I was learning about feminism. I was learning about racism. I was very interested in understanding these abstract intellectual ideas. And I thought that I was, learning this, brand new, awakening, awareness, all of this. I thought I was becoming transcendent. In reality, I was actually reading postmodernist theory, as James has illustrated frequently. It's drivel, it's nonsense, it's grooming, and it's lies. More than anything, it's manipulation, it's lies. And young people like me and Chloe fall into this, thinking that we are becoming avant-garde or artistic or creative, when it's really suppressing truth. And if you're suppressing truth, you can never actually be authentic in reality.
All right, Adam. You're a dad.
Yes, sir.
What do we need to do? What do parents need to do?
like I say in a lot of my videos, and I'm just speaking from the California side of all of this. I tell people you need to hold on to your kids extra tight. You really do, especially in the state of California. That's the biggest thing that I miss is holding my son. And I never heard "I love you" from my father until I was late in my age, but something told me deep down inside to make sure I told my son I loved him every single time I had him. And I think parents in California really need to stand up to what is going on in the state of California, because even though it happened from within the home, on my side, it's happening in the school districts, and I'm seeing it firsthand, just firsthand on what they're doing in California.
And stand up for this ballot initiative in California, right?
Yeah, we've got a ballot initiative from Aaron Friday. It's Protect Kids 2024.
Get involved in that.
So on that initiative, one of them is continuing the parental rights, keep the parental rights strong, to notify the parents in the schools. The second one is to keep boys out of girls' sports. And the second one is to stop the medications, the surgeries, or gender-affirming care on minors.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, Joe, what do psychologists need to be doing? What do we need to do for our professionals?
Well, I naively thought when I moved into this space as a therapist that I could make a difference, and I do individually, especially for people who have detransitioned and moved out of the ideology, but I increasingly think that it's almost impossible for us to do our profession when the rest of the world is allied against us, when it's in the schools, when it's in the medical schools, medical profession, it's in the administration, it is everywhere. So to me the answer is political.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Chloe, bring us home. Do the last word.
Fight like hell. Starting in our communities, don't think for a second that this is just a California issue, because this is happening in every community, in every single city, in every single state in the U.S., everywhere in the West. It's infected our families. It's torn apart children from their mothers, their fathers, their caretakers, from the people who love them and know them best. It's infected our institutions, namely healthcare and education. You might feel afraid of the consequences of speaking out. The backlash can be brutal. But while you might lose your friends, you may lose your job, you can and you will gain so much more by living and speaking truthfully. We cannot ignore what is going on. These irresponsible, evil adults must be held accountable.
All right, everybody, thank you. You heard it from Chloe. Fight like hell. Thank you. Give it up for them. Thank you, Turning Point.
On Inauguration Day,
the 4 years ahead
seems like an eternity.
It's not.
Because the left has engineered our government and institutions
to reject conservative ideology. The 2025 Presidential Transition Project
brings together over 60 conservative organizations
to ensure the policy and personnel are in place
on January 20th, 2025.
Using 4 pillars,
we are laying the foundation
for the next president
to end Washington's bureaucracy and restore American prosperity.
How good do we have it here in America based on your experience all over the world?
I mean, this is a pure miracle. I was born in North Korea and I escaped when I was 13 years old. I would be homeless rather than being in North Korea. When I came to this country and I stepped on the land, I just felt the spirit of justice. This is the only country that I did not face racism. Even in America, the freedom is not guaranteed. And it's slipping away every single day. I genuinely believe that America is the last hope that humanity has.
Everyone, I am in the presence of Yeonmi Park. I'm Alex Clark. I host the Spillover podcast with Turning Point. And I was asked if I wouldn't mind joining Yeonmi today to get the juicy details of her story and change some hearts and minds, which of course I was very happy to do. Yeonmi Park, of course, if you're not familiar with her story, boy, are you in for a treat. You will be on the edge of your seat. She is an author, a best-selling author, a speaker, but also a survivor of North Korea. So Yeonmi, let's go ahead and just start. Walk us through the details of your childhood in North Korea.
Oh, thank you for the kind introduction. And I was just thinking to myself just right now, like, I cannot believe I had to call you a bastard all my life in North Korea. And you guys are the loveliest bastards in the whole world. I cannot believe. Literally all my life in North Korea, I had to hate you guys with all my passion. And here I am in this bright light. I was born in the darkest place in the world. In the 21st century, not to even mention what internet is, North Korea does not even have electricity. When I had a glimpse of, one light bulb of a pink line, that was a miracle. I would clap with my family, say, the light came. And here I am, surrounded by these amazing lights. How can you possibly not love capitalism? Thank you. This is a pure miracle. Growing up in North Korea as a child, I did not even play. I did not even know what that was. Now I'm a mother. I have a son. He literally, thank you. He is obsessed with the Star Wars minifigures. Yes. And I was thinking about my childhood. Literally the biggest thing I did with my friends was catching dragonflies and grabbing grasshoppers. And then one thing I still remember is my boyfriends, guy friends, they were a lot faster than me. They were catching cockroaches. And then when you catch a cockroach, they open the belly of the cockroach. Inside the belly, there is something looks like a brown rice. And then my friend would pop it in the mouth. I would resent, why am I not fast enough to catch a cockroach? And that was my daily life in North Korea as a child.
What were holidays like in North Korea?
So this is the thing. There are no holidays for people. I could not believe there was a holiday called Valentine's Day or even Christmas. We are not allowed to celebrate anything other than dictators. So our holidays are like Kim Jong-il's birthday, Kim Il-sung's birthday, the mother of Kim Jong-il's birthday, the party's founding day. So all these holidays, so-called holidays, we had to be mobilized on the streets and the march and singing the worship songs for the dictators and saying how grateful we are to live in a socialist paradise. And there's not even one single day we're dedicated to celebrate North Korean people. And that's why, a few years ago, Kim Jong-un banned Mother's Days. Because he thought if we love our mothers, we would not love him as much. So we are not allowed to love anything other than the fat Kim dictators.
Do you see similarities between that and how culture treats the family in America today, almost encouraging kids to separate from their parents, disobey your parents? If your parents don't affirm whatever your belief is, you should leave your family. Does that concern you?
It's interesting. So my teacher, in North Korea, every room that we have the portraits of Kim dictators. And the first thing that my teacher taught me was, look at your dear leader. That's your real father, not your biological father. If he says something unloyal to the government, you need to come tell me. So governments would punish the parents. And now in America, I hear these things like teachers would literally teaching the kids saying, your parents are not safe if they don't validate your feelings. And trying to separate the children from the family. It is the same exact tactic that North Korea uses to separate people and isolate people from each other.
How old were you when you decided, I think I need to escape? And what did that thought process look like for you?
So I think this is where very hard for anybody to understand the situation in North Korea. Like growing up in North Korea, we don't even know the words of escape or freedom. The government don't give you that vocabulary to describe your situation. Literally, in North Korea, guys, we don't have word for stress. Why is that? Because how can you be stressed if you are living in a socialist paradise? You cannot be. So simply, government removes the concept like love or stress or depression from the people. So it wasn't a decision for me one day. I thought like, I'm gonna escape from this country. But by the time when I was 13 years old, I was starving. Like now I'm actually not even 80 pounds. At the time I was like half of my size and I would like literally fly away if the wind blows.
What kinds of things were you eating to survive?
I mean, the fanciest meal I had was grasshoppers. But daily life is a lot of plants, and if we are lucky, we get some grains. But literally in North Korea, you get executed if you eat cow. Because in North Korea, there's no private property. Nobody allowed to own anything, including cow. So most of food are not allowed for people to eat, other than most of plants and some grains.
So you decide to escape, and how long did the escape take?
It took literally crossing the Yalu River between China and North Korea. It took us one night.
Were there people set up to help you?
This is the thing. So right before my escape, my sister disappeared. And she disappeared because she escaped first before me. And then she left me a little note saying, go find this lady and this lady gonna help you to come to China and find me. I found the lady with my mother and then she helped us to go to China. They bribed the brokers on the border. It's not like crossing the southern border to America. Crossing North Korean border is every 10 meters, the guards with the machine guns standing there is a shoot to kill order. If anybody crosses the border, they have a right to shoot you. But this lady bribed the guards. And the reason why she was bribing this guard and sending us to China, it was because they were selling us as sex slaves. So that's how at the time I did not know why this lady was helping me, but that's why she helped us.
Do you remember, or were you even able to say goodbye to your family before leaving?
Sorry.
Were you able to say goodbye to your family before leaving?
Oh, I couldn't, because most of nurses cannot say the goodbye, because even we let them know, we trust them, they're not gonna report us to the authority, they are gonna get tortured if we disappear. And if they had a knowledge of us leaving, they're gonna get killed. So to protect your family members, you cannot tell them that you are leaving. Because the crime of knowing somebody is escaping and not reporting is a death. So we cannot let them know that we're disappearing.
So do your parents there know now if you're even dead or alive?
My father passed away, and then 3 generations of my family, from my mom, my dad's side, all got punished. And then my mother and myself made it to South Korea.
I think that's really hard for a lot of us to understand that mindset. It's your life. You have to decide if you're going to live or die, meaning you have to decide to escape or not, knowing that your family could be killed or tortured or imprisoned for your actions. How did you ultimately make the choice that you were going to escape anyway?
That is the thing. Like, even if we didn't escape, we would all die. Because that is the only fate that is waiting for us. So in the 90s, when I was a toddler, the biggest modern day malnutrition and famine happened in North Korea. And literally seeing dead bodies in North Korea is looking at a tree. That's how common it is, looking at people just dead on the streets. During this time, the cadres in the countryside went to Pyongyang and told Kim Jong-il, dear leader, there are millions of people dying right now from starvation. What shall we do? Do you know what Kim Jong-il said? He said to these cadres, saying, it's easy to do socialism when there are less of them. So let them die. And I do see that right now in America, how many people say the humans are diseased, that we are making Mother Earth sick, that how too many of us here, because they fundamentally believe that. They think it's hard to control people when there are too many of them. And that's why that man-made famine killed more than 3 million of North Koreans in the 90s when I was a child.
What is the most difficult story to tell about your escape?
I think this is where the thing comes down to. I think I do have a shame or guilt of surviving it. And I know it so well, clearly. I didn't fought harder than anybody else, or I was smarter than anybody else. I got lucky. There are only 209 of us made it to America over the last 80 years. Thank you. And I'm one of them, so I always say the unicorns are rare, you know. But then, contrast to only 209 of us are in America free, there are 300,000 North Korean women currently in China, and their organs are harvested out of them. They get raped and killed. When I was in China, they sold my mom for $65, and they sold me over $200 because I was child virgin. So I feel just guilty that I made it, and not the people who fought harder than me didn't make it. So some days I get better, but I do think a lot of it is in there. Oh, thank you. No, no, you guys are too Thank you so much. No, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Please, we have more time. Thank you so much.
When you first get to America, what is the first thing that you remember noticing that you were like, wow, this is different?
First place I came to in America was not New York City or LA or San Francisco. I went to Tyler, Texas.
Oh no. You were like, I don't know, maybe I should go back. No, I'm just kidding.
And then in Tyler, Texas, I was living in dormitory. My friends took me to Walmart. That is
the most American thing I've ever heard.
And then when I entered the Walmart, I couldn't believe it. Because the size of the chips were like a half of my body size. And I was picking up some apple. I did not, there were dozens different types of apple. And I went there to take like toothbrush and toothpaste. It's like the cavity care, whitening, whole care. Like there are dozen types of toothpaste there. And the fanciest thing I did in North Korea was using my sword with my fingers to brushing my teeth. And that's when I thought, capitalism is a simple miracle. I cannot believe. Thank you.
Is it even conceivable or possible that America, on the trajectory that we're on now, could end up anywhere close to the communism that you see in North Korea? Does that worry you?
Yes, I think a lot of you do have the same concern because in order revolution to happen, it doesn't require everybody to agree with the idea. Whenever we talk about revolution, they talk about the hotspots. Like in North Korea, the hotspot is Pyongyang. And they control the Pyongyang and they control the remaining whole country. In America, not all the people hating America, as we know, and look at you guys. But the problem of this country is there are hotspots, like in the coastal areas, like in New York City, Washington, D.C., in the West Coast, as we know. And I saw this in the first hand when I went to university in America to study. And literally, the professors were teaching the exact same things that my North Korean teacher taught us. To believe that all the problem that we have in the world is because of American bastards and because of white men. And my professors at Columbia University in New York City saying, the math is racist. It's made up by white men to control the minority. And I remember my very first lesson in North Korea where teacher asked me one day, Yumi, what is 1 + 1? What is 1 + 1? Yeah, you guys know the math. I said the same thing. I said 2. And my teacher said, no, you're wrong. My dear leader Kim Jong-il at the time discovered that adding 1 drop of water to another drop of water, it doesn't become 2, it becomes bigger 1. That is how he proved math was made up by the Western white men to control the minority. And this idiocy was taught at Columbia University in the same exact way. And that's when I realized this is the end of civilization.
Do you think that there is any justifiable reason or excuse for a conservative parent to send their kids to public school?
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Why?
Because it's not the government job to teach your child the values and life lessons. And it's not government's job to raise your children. It's your job. If you gave birth to this child, it's your responsibility. Thank you. Yeah.
Real quick, Yeonmi, and we'll wrap up here, but feel free to go absolutely scorched earth, okay? You have one thing to tell the commie leftists on our college campuses, something. They hate America. What is your message to them?
The border is open. Go to North Korea. It's a free country. Thank you so much, everyone. Love you guys so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Love you.
It's been said many times, where America goes, so goes the world.
Americans of African descent who historically vote for Democrats to want a difference and begin to vote in a different way.
We need women that are staying true to this, that are saying, I'm not just here to protect my children, I'm here to protect everyone's children.
I believe it is incumbent on us, this generation, to protect and preserve the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world.
Flashpoint is here to tell you there is hope.
When you bank with America's Christian Credit Union, you are joining a cooperative of believers pooling resources to support the greater body of Christ. As a fully federally insured credit union, ACCU has been providing financial services to Christian individuals and ministries for over 60 years, with the aim of supporting church expansion, ministry building, Christian schools, assisting small businesses, and supporting individuals and families through high-rate deposit accounts and low-rate lending services. Switch to ACCU today and discover banking with a financial partner who understands your faith and moves you forward, because we are stronger together.
My name is Christian Collins. I founded Texas Youth Summit, and we need to get people involved in the fight to save America.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction.
I don't think for 1 second that God is done with America. Texas Youth Summit is necessary because we are combating the woke ideology that's being taught in our public school system.
We need men and women in this room to have courage to stand up for this country.
In college, I found myself agnostic and thinking that I would vote Democrat for Barack Obama. I didn't vote Democrat. I didn't vote at all that year. And thankfully, in 2009, my father introduced me to the great Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh helped me become the conservative that I am today. And in that search for meaning, I was conservative, but I was still agnostic. And I surrendered my life to Christ. That was a turning point in my trajectory. It was beautiful. It changed me forever. One of the ill side effects, though, that I was so heavenly minded that I was no earthly good. In other words, I had been studying politics for so long, and I no longer cared about that, and I wanted to go into ministry. Well, I had a conversation with my dad, who was a pastor, and he encouraged me to continue to go down the path that I had been on. And so I did. Sometime later, I was working at a college, teaching there, and I was also doing college ministry as an extracurricular, and I was working full-time for Senator Ted Cruz and traveling with his father, Reverend Raphael Cruz. Raphael helped me understand that ministry and politics go hand in hand. And actually, you can do politics in such a way as a ministry that glorifies God. So that's exactly what I did. So here I started Texas Youth Summit, and I work to educate young people with Judeo-Christian and conservative values, and we're blessed to be working closely with Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. So I want to talk to you for a couple of minutes on what it means to be a conservative. To be a conservative, first, we must preserve our Judeo-Christian heritage. The first 5 books of the Bible, the Pentateuch, greatly informed how the framers wrote the Constitution. There's a reason why on the dollar bill it says, "In God we trust." There's a reason why we pledge allegiance to an almighty God. There's a reason why in Washington, D.C., there are monuments erected to honor and glorify God. This nation was also founded for the purpose of religious liberty. Our founders escaped persecution and their countries coming to this country to found America for the very idea of religious freedom. It's why we can never let happen what happened in 2020 ever happen again, where they shut down our churches and forced us to take a shot. We can never let that happen ever again. As conservatives, we are pro-life, from the womb until the grave. We've had some victories with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, but the left is not letting up, and they've done a referendum and legalized abortion in Ohio, and they're working in every Democrat-run state to push infanticide with abortion up to 9 months of pregnancy. As conservatives, we believe that life begins at conception. As conservatives, we know it doesn't take a biologist to recognize the difference between a man and a woman. A man is a man, a woman is a woman, and God gave us the anatomy to prove it. We see this playing out in our public schools with woke indoctrination, where youth are confused and taking hormone therapy and having sex reassignment surgery. This, too, is an issue of the sanctity of life, and we must be pro-life at this stage and stand against it. Being a conservative means that we fully embrace the America First agenda. There's an America First agenda that literally means we put America first. And there's an America Last agenda. Pundits, politicians, and writers who are pushing anti-Trump, anti-America First ideology. They're still living in the 80s, thinking that our biggest geopolitical threat is Russia, sending over $200 billion to Ukraine. Meanwhile, our border is wide open. Illegal immigrants are pouring into our country. We experience this firsthand as I live in Texas. We must secure our southern border. These American neocons are also beholden to their globalist open borders donors. They say all the right things to get elected and reelected, but they keep and continue to keep our borders open because they want it for the cheap labor in this country. We must secure the southern border. Our biggest geopolitical threat is not Russia, it's China. And we've seen 12,000 Chinese military-aged men come across our southern border, pushed here by the Chinese Communist Party. 107,000 of Americans have died from fentanyl overdose just this past year because it's come from China. We must secure our southern border. And we see issues playing out on the college campus with these pro-Hamas riots. Many of them have come across our southern border too. And every major Western city in the Western world, we're seeing this play out. It's BLM 2.0 all over again. They yell genocidal, anti-Semitic phrases like, "to the river, to the sea." Anyone that yells this phrase should be deported back to the hell that they came from. Maybe Rod Flipkowski or Cookie or whatever his name is on Twitter doesn't like that, but that's the truth. And my encouragement to you, as President Ronald Reagan said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. You must become conservative missionaries to advance the conservative cause. You must fight like never before. For such a time as this, you were created, you were born for this moment. So make sure that you get out and fight. Thank you, guys. God bless you. God bless America.
My name is Ayla. I am from the new federal state of China. For those of you who never heard of us, we stand for the largest unvaccinated community with a mission to take down the Chinese Communist Party. We are survivors of the Chinese Communist government. We are survivors of the CCP virus. And for people who fled from a communist regime to America, they're looking for freedom. But I fear that the communism I fled has reached to the freedom land I stand. In 2017, Miles Guo, the CCP #1 enemy and the founder of the new federal state of China, was invited to be interviewed by Voice of America. Mr. Guo's interview was scheduled to last long 3 hours, and in which he was going to expose massive corruption around CCP top officials and their family members. Sarcastically, officials of Voice of America chose to take orders from Beijing after a few calls and threats of the Communist Party. And I knew from that day, America's freedom is not unlimited and even in real danger. 3 years later, in 2020, the Chinese Communist Party had released the CCP virus, which resulted in the largest pandemic that America had ever experienced. So let's do some math here. How many casualties did America suffer on 9/11? Over 3,000. And how many casualties did the United States suffer from World War II? Over 400,000. And now, what are the numbers of the deaths because of the CCP virus in your country? Over 1.1 million. The CCP virus has killed 3 times more Americans than World War II. And that's not the end of it. How many more Americans will become victims of the CCP virus vaccines? These vaccines were developed and created and promoted by the world's largest pharmaceutical groups who have been colluded with the Communist Party for years. And what's even worse, the CCP is under building new illegal P3 and P4 labs now in the world. During China's COVID lockdown, the Communist Party cut off electricity I remind you all to remember, CCP is not China. Chinese people are not the CCP. We, Chinese from the new federal state of China, are seeking to overthrow the Chinese communist dictatorship by telling the world the truth. First, the Chinese Communist Party is helping many countries in developing and obtaining nuclear capabilities under the guise of civilian projects. One of my fellow federates from the NFSC shared earlier in this conference room that the CCP's efforts in selling ICBMs reaching to the soil of the United States with nuclear payload to countries in the Middle East. And second, the Chinese Communist Party has been entered spy communication agreements with the neighbor countries of the United States. And these spy partnerships include equipping Honduras, Venezuela, Cuba, Dominica, Brazil, and Argentina with CCP technologies and personnel in monitoring U.S. military operations and communications, and all in preparation for warfare against the United States. In history, Hitler was only months away of launching the nuclear warfare. And today, the dictator Xi Jinping was able to obtain massive nuclear capabilities and initiate such warfare at any time. It is sad and frightening reality that America's freedom and rule of law was bought by the Chinese Communist Party over the years. Major law firms in this country run to open offices in China to defend the interests of the CCP state-owned business. Silicon Valley's handed over sensitive technologies to the Communist Party, let alone Wall Street, who have been colluded and slept with the communists for decades. So America, it's the time to stop funding your biggest enemy in this world. It is the time to decouple from Communist China. If you don't decouple, you are empowering the Communist Party with your people, your technology, and your investment to initiate the nuclear warfare against you. And if you don't decouple from Communist China, your scientists are helping the CCP to build and initiate the next biological weapon warfare. And if you don't decouple, you're handing over the grounds of America to the communist dictatorship in China. So America, can we stand with the new federal state of China? And can I hear you one more time? Take down the CCP!
Imagine a world where the American dream isn't just a concept. It's a vibrant reality created by the entrepreneurs and innovators of our time. Welcome to the new American dream, where a new generation is at the forefront, rewriting the rules and shaping success on our own terms. Since 2022, our company, Lynx, has been on a mission to empower and uplift. We've assisted over 40,000 small businesses in reclaiming a remarkable $2 billion in employee retention credits. But we didn't achieve this all alone. It's been a journey powered by collaboration. This journey wouldn't be complete without clients and partners like you.
Individuals who are redefining entrepreneurship. We're driven by purpose, committed to innovation, and dedicated to making a real impact.
Our clients and affiliates are the driving force behind our vision. They're the patriots and leaders our world needs. We align with those who share our passion, creating genuine, sustainable value for businesses across this great nation. And now it's your time to seize the opportunity. Join us in rewriting the story of success and having an incredible time while doing it. Whether you're a business owner looking to obtain your COVID relief funds through the Employee Retention Credit, or a successful entrepreneur looking to align with a new opportunity, there's a place for you in our company.
Someone has to go and build strong moral frameworks for our country. And my favorite thing to do is to confront the bad guys. I don't ask you to trust that I'm credible. I show you the evidence. I have to be strong enough to prevent myself from being co-opted, corrupted, influenced. We live in a world where there's a symbiotic relationship between government, pharmaceutical companies, and the paper of record, and it's not how journalism ought to be. I realize this is like a spiritual battle.
become less afraid.
Well, what are you afraid of?
I have 2 little kids at home, with a house, a wife.
So what's holding you back?
Fear. It's irrational.
What are we actually afraid of?
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the founder of Project Veritas and CEO of the O'Keefe Media Group, James O'Keefe.
Hello, everyone. OMG. It's great to be here. And I've got a few people I want to introduce you to, but I want to say a few words first. Talk a little about fear, overcoming fear, blowing the whistle. What are we actually afraid of? What is holding us back? We're afraid of losing our homes, our mortgages, retaliation by the government, defamation from the media. These are terrifying things. But courage is the virtue that sustains all other virtues. Courage is the thing that makes all things possible. So I felt, what better way to kind of send a message than to bring the people up on stage who've actually done it. And you can hear from them for yourselves about how they were able to overcome the fear and do the thing. And it's not going to be the government, I believe, not even the politicians. I think the paragon of investigative journalism is now on the shoulders of the citizens. A celebrity is a big name. A hero is a big man whose deeds speak loudly. So first, we're going to bring up some students from the University of Pittsburgh. These are individuals. Let me just say a few words. These are Turning Point students who actually, this young woman, Lily, was brought into an office with her administrator. And yeah, Lily. And they were putting pressure on her, someone from the DEI, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, putting pressure on her, calling her group a hate group. So she took out her phone and she recorded it. And, come on up, Lily. And Lily recorded this, and then the police got involved. I think these laws that prohibit recording are unconstitutional. We've challenged them in various states. And then her friend Khalil took the fall for Lily. So say a few words about what you've done.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lily, like James said, and you know, my story and what Khalil did for me was incredibly honorable. I think more of us need to do what we've done on college campuses. We need to expose our professors, our advisors, administration. We need to be the ones that are bold enough to say something and do something, because this education system is just incredibly corrupt. So if I could encourage all of you college students and really everyone to be bold. Every single day you go to campus, just be bold in everything you do and seek truth.
Hi, everyone. I think that if this is something that you want to do, your college campus is the perfect place to do it. Don't be afraid. There's really not anything that they can take from you. And join OMG.
There are very few students who did this, and I think we need thousands of college students to record their professors and administrators. And I think, thanks to the work Charlie is doing, I love the expose the professors, catch the professors. In 2024, that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, moving on to another subject near and dear to our hearts, I want to introduce you to two people. One of them was one of the Genesis, the initial people during the COVID pandemic to wake people up, very brave women. These two individuals I met through our tips line back when I was the head of Project Veritas. This young woman came to me and exposed emails, and the email showed that the vice president of Pfizer was lying to their customers. and she was very afraid, but she came forward, faced her fears, gave us the emails. We confronted the vice president of Pfizer. And then the second individual you're going to hear from was also a whistleblower, worked as a consultant through Pfizer, and had information and screenshots that was able to corroborate Jordan Walker, one of the high-up director of mRNA scientific research guys, also saying they're lying to the customers. We don't want anybody to know we're mutating the virus. Ladies and gentlemen, two very brave people. Give it up for Melissa and Debbie at Pfizer.
I'm still alive. I'm still here. And no, they haven't messed with me since firing me. So I'm calling every Pfizer employee because I know that there are people higher up than I was who know more than I know, who can prove more than I could prove, who were struggling to decide on what to do. They'll think their life is over if they come forward. Well, I'm proof that it's not. And if you're a believer in the Almighty God, then you know that we worship our God in spirit and in truth. And if you are sitting at a Pfizer facility knowing what is going on and not saying anything, you are no longer worshiping our God because you're not in truth. You know what they're hiding from the public. You know what they're doing. They're bypassing all quality and safety protocols and shoving things out the door that shouldn't be shoved out the door. No product leaving a Pfizer facility is safe and effective anymore until they implement their good manufacturing practices again. And people start following their standard operating procedures. And being clear and transparent and giving people could not make informed consent during the entire pandemic and still to this day. So if you have received the vaccine or anybody you know and love, they did not know what they were getting into. If you want a visual proof of all of my evidence of my claims, go to my Twitter. I've recently posted everything, Melissa McAtee 92. Check it out, share it, show your loved ones, message me. I'll call your grandma. I'll talk to her. I'll talk to your dad, your sister, your brother, anybody I can to prove my claims and to tell people what was actually going on at my job.
Hi everyone, I am Debbie Bernal, and I also worked for Pfizer for a little bit. But the day that I decided to no longer be complicit in Pfizer's deceit, Pfizer decided to lock me in a room, interrogate me, rummage through my things, and they even sent people to my home. But after they did that, I realized I must be doing the right thing. And you can too. Right now, we are in a war, a spiritual war. And you have to decide today which side of this war you want to be in. We have a general right here who's ready to lead an army. But even the best general cannot win a war without an army. And we, every single person in this room right now, is the army. So it is our duty, our right, to stand up against these corporations that view us as pawns. So right now, I encourage you guys to make that decision and decide which army you want to be a part of. Do you want to be a part of Pfizer's army? Or do you want to be the part of truth, the army of truth? So I encourage every single person in this room, if you have kids, encourage them to stand up for what's right. Don't teach them that money is more important than the truth, because it's not. Fight for what's right. If you are in tech, if you are in big pharma, or if you're at any of these corporations that are lying to people and deceiving them, in censoring them, it is your duty to do what's right and to stand up for the truth. Thank you.
I just want to say that I encourage you to talk to these individuals, support them, nourish them, follow them, appreciate them. They are humble, but they have given up so much. They've lost their jobs, they've suffered, they've struggled, but they've inspired so many more people. And now I'm going to show you, thanks in no small part to these folks, what has happened in the last week, what I think is perhaps the most encouraging thing that I've ever seen. An individual high up within IBM contacted me, fairly high up, and this individual said, you know, I should give this to you, but I'm afraid. And then I said, well, what's the worst thing that can happen if you tell the truth? And they said, I guess you're right. They gave it to me, and then something amazing happened. Something incredible happened. We had message after message after message. Every single message you see here is from another IBM insider in the last week. One after the other. Not 2 people. Not 5 people. 150 people inside IBM. So everybody, take out your phones right now. I want you to take your phone out, and I want you to turn the flashlight on your phone. Everybody, take your phones out. We're going to make sure that in 2024, we're going to have more whistleblowers than we've ever had at Project Veritas. If you're lying, cheating, stealing, we're going to find you, but we need people on the inside. And we need brave people, too, people inside corporations and the government, the honest Americans, the ordinary men and women, unpaid, unglamorous jobs. I want to introduce you to one of those guys right now inside Best Buy, a brave man. Ennis, come on out on stage.
Hello, everyone. How are we doing today? Arizona, how are we doing today? Come on, I can't hear y'all. Yeah, America! Thank y'all so much. My name is Ennis Sujak, and man, let me tell you my story. I wasn't born here in this country. I was born in Serbia. Yeah, thank you. Back in the 90s, you know, they had the Bosnian-Serbian War. It was a very tough time as a kid. I wish that upon nobody. It was tragic. And you see what's going on nowadays with America and everywhere else. It saddens me. I love this country so much. God made this country for all of us to be free. Nobody can take that away from you. What you have, your faith, nobody can take that from you. LGBTQ, this whole agenda, nobody can take that away from you. Oh man, I'm just so furious on what's going on nowadays. Everyone is just trying to come after our religion, our faith, our God. No, we got to stand up for this. For the next generation of kids, we got to stand up. Yes. It just, I would have never imagined debating on what a woman is. Like, come on, y'all. It is incredible. I used to work for Best Buy Geek Squad installing appliances. You know, I loved what I did. In terms of the whole COVID, you know, people need appliances. They were so humbling, our clients, just being there, giving them new appliances and everything. And what they do, they push this whole agenda on us. What does learning about LGBTQ, the trans community, have to do with installing appliances? No, I just couldn't do it. Like I said, I'm European. We got a big mouth. So when it came to that, I dipped out, and my manager was trying to tell me I was in the wrong for having my faith. Excuse me, sir, that's not how we do things around here. No, this is America. This is not. Thank you. It literally starts with just one person. One person multiplies to two. Two goes to four. We all have to come together to save this country. Like, I do not want to wish what we're doing right now, what's happening with America, I do not wish that upon the next generation. We have to stand up for this country, and it starts right now. So please, guys, don't give up this fight. I will not give up this fight. I came here in this country to pursue freedom. And what's happening right now is it's not a free country. I thank Elon Musk for creating the platform, for buying Twitter/X, for allowing us to have a voice. We all have a voice. Every one of us has a voice right now. Don't lose it. The government will try to take that away. The devil will try to take that away. Don't let that happen, please. God is real. God is good. Please stand up for this country. Thank you.
So one becomes two becomes four. As Ennis said, Ennis recorded his supervisor at Best Buy lost his job. Very humble man. And you're going to see this citizen army expanding into every school board, every state house, everywhere elections are held, corporations. We got whistleblowers coming to us every day. We got a master class today at 2 p.m. for those who want to learn how to do investigative reporting here, just across the street. You can sign up there. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. If they're lying, cheating, stealing, or scamming, they might just be the next unwilling internet celebrity. Thank you very much.
Cancer. It must spread to survive. And America was the major impediment to the spread of this disease. It had to be taken from the inside.
They infiltrated America's media and education.
He said the ultimate objective of having government school was to destroy Christianity. Those are his words.
But unfortunately, we have utterly red-washed education, so we don't know what creeping communism looks like.
I don't like the idea of teaching children that they're victims.
So we're undermining the family unit by saying that it's destructive to have any sort of heteronormative society. Just affirm it, or else we're going to take your kids away.
And they say, well, no, that's not communism. It's Democrat socialism. It's just dog do. Put sprinkles on top of it. It's the same thing.
That's why we will take you to prison, because you're teaching your children about God and you don't follow our indoctrination.
Just like in the Soviet Union, in America, we have seen heavy attacks on fringe Christian groups.
And I hate to use that phrase, the final solution, because that's what Hitler's Germany used for justify the killing of all the Jews. There are ravening wolves in sheep's clothing all over the place.
Well, he's done many things over his career, talk radio.
A very smart man who will enlighten us all on these issues.
He's one of America's respected radio hosts.
None other than Dennis Prager. Dennis, I know you're going to keep fighting. We who are conservative are grateful to be American. Brush away your bad mood. You owe it to everyone in your life to have a happy disposition. Big government means little freedom. End of issue. Those who censor are the liars. You can't get more absurd. It is not possible. Cancel culture is a function of the left because they can't handle dissent. It's either freedom or free things. We choose freedom.
Wow. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's very inspiring to see you all here. So I debated a great deal what I would say to you for 22 minutes. Do I cheer you up? Do I motivate you? These were very real questions that I confronted. And I thought the best thing I can do is explain the current era in which you live and I live. And that's the best service I could provide in these minutes to you. Because there's no way of denying this is the darkest era in American history outside of the Civil War. And once the Civil War was over, while there were terrible residues of anti-black legislation in the South, etc., nevertheless, the country ultimately united, but the country has never been as disunited as it is today. We live in different moral universes. So I'd like to ask you a question and answer it. If you know that someone says men give birth or men menstruate, every single person in this auditorium, every single American would know their position on Hamas. Now, isn't that interesting? Now, to be a little direct, what the hell does a man giving birth have to do with being pro-Hamas? So I have an answer, because you know that that is true. If a person says men give birth, they will be pro-Hamas and anti-Israel. They're not related issues. So why is that the case? And here is the answer, and I will give you a whole series of examples. The left, and I always distinguish left and liberal. Liberals vote for the left. That is the tragedy of America in a nutshell. But liberalism is not leftism. And so I want to make that clear. But the left, or the progressive, their moral compass is not only broken, because a broken moral compass, or a broken compass, like a broken clock, is right twice a day. But they're not right twice a day. They're never right, because their compass is set for north to always show south and for east to always show west. It is deliberately broken. So I will give you a whole host of examples to give you an idea of what the broken moral compass is about. Women who object to men who say they are women competing in women's sports, even in weightlifting, these are called haters. Do you understand how that is north, south, east, west? The idea that a man who says he is a woman can compete in women's sports is a broken, deliberately broken moral compass. And that is an example. Again, if you say that men can compete in women's sports if they say they're women, you are overwhelmingly likely to be pro-Hamas. Number two, adults who object to schools taking 5-year-olds to drag queen performances are declared haters. The teachers who take children to drag queen events are enlightened. The idea that you would take a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old child to a drag queen event, irrespective of what you think of drag queens, you may think they are the greatest thing existing, but a child doesn't belong there. But again, if you believe that a child should be exposed to drag queen story hours, you're overwhelmingly likely to be pro-Hamas. Number 3, if you believe that all black dormitories on college campuses are good for blacks and good for America and good for the value system of this country, you are overwhelmingly likely to believe that Hamas is right and Israel is wrong. An all-black dormitory is racism, pure, undiluted racism. There are only 2 groups in America who believe in all black dormitories and all black graduations: progressives / left and the Ku Klux Klan. If you believe that open borders are moral and that those who want closed borders, even when they support large-scale legal immigration, are xenophobes, people who oppose open borders, there's again overwhelmingly likely your compass is so broken you believe Hamas is the hero and Israel is the villain in the Middle East. It all goes together. A country has to have borders just like a house has borders. I am very in favor, most conservatives are, of large-scale legal immigration. But to have unregulated borders, and do you understand? I mean, I look at this and I wonder, do they ever ask themselves, do the people on the left ever confront their own value system? We are for open borders, but if you bring them into our sanctuary cities, we cry, right? New York City is a sanctuary city, but don't you dare bring any of the people that we want to give sanctuary to into our city. You know who believe that that makes sense? Professors. This is the state of our universities. By the way, there is a silver lining in the obscene testimony of 3 Ivy League or 2 Ivy League and MIT presidents who couldn't say that advocating genocide against Jews is hate speech or is harassment. They didn't even ask hate speech. The bright side is, finally, what I have warned all of my life since I was at Columbia in the 1970s, that the university is a moral wasteland, is becoming clear to more Americans. This is the one silver lining. If you apply for a job at TPUSA, I haven't reviewed this with Charlie, but I think this is true. I know it's true for PragerU. It is not only not held against you if you didn't go to college, we tend to think more highly of you if you didn't go to college. The number of young people who go to college, a decent, even happy person, and come out angry, ungrateful, bitter people is very large. As I have said often on my radio show, at an American university, you get a BA in ingratitude, you get a master's in ingratitude, and you get a PhD in ingratitude. And I've written a book on happiness. It's a major theme in my work. And let me tell you something. There is no happy ingrate. It is not possible to be a happy or good human being if you're not grateful. The ingrate is the lowest form of humanity. And ingratitude is the essence of the left. They are all ingrates, and they wish to create more ingrates. You have grown up in the freest, most opportunity-giving country ever made in the history of the world, and you loathe it. You are despicable for that loathing. It is sick. It is sick. America is systemically racist. If you believe that, you're also probably pro-Hamas. Systemically racist? How many college students are taught that 4 million blacks have moved to the United States through legal immigration? 4 million in the last few decades from the Caribbean and Africa. So here's a question that should be posed. Are these people stupid? I'm just curious, would you move to a country that you knew hated you because of your color or race or religion? Of course not. Did any Jews move to Germany in the 1930s? The question is absurd. Of course no Jews moved to Germany because it was systemically anti-Semitic. Those 4 million blacks, and there would be 40 million blacks if we opened the borders completely. That's how many would want to move here, for good reason, because there's no country in the world better for a black or a white or a Hispanic or an Arab or a Muslim or a Jew to live in. Really, I don't understand why there aren't leftists, black leftists and white leftists at Kennedy Airport. And any black coming in from Africa, and they say, hey, don't be an idiot, go back, go back. We're systemically racist, we hate you. And then this black African will look at this person and say, are you out of your mind? Do you know that in Africa we know how wonderful America is? You don't know, because you went to an American university. If you believe that voter ID is racist, you probably support Hamas. Do you know that virtually every democracy on earth has voter ID? How on earth could that possibly be racist? Sir, ma'am, before you vote, we'd like to make sure that you are the person on this list. Why is that bad? Why is that wrong? Why is that racist? It's racist to say it's racist, because the implication is it's too hard for a black to figure out how to get an ID. Ami Horowitz Ami Horowitz, who does these terrific videos of man on the street type videos, he went to Harlem in Manhattan, and he asked blacks in the street, said, do you know how to get an ID? And they looked at him like he was an idiot. No, you have to see it. It's mind-boggling to watch. They didn't know what he was talking about. They even said, yeah, the DMV, I'll give you the address. If you believe that fewer policemen make safer cities, you probably support Hamas. Do you understand? It's very important that my point be clear. The broken moral compass of the left covers all of these arenas. Supporting Hamas is only the latest and most grotesque example of the morally sick world of the left. I mean, to say this, to say that it's a safer city with fewer policemen, do you understand what sort of perverse form of thought that emanates from? How can you come up with such an idea? Fewer cops means more crime, not less crime. Isn't that obvious in Portland and San Francisco and Chicago and Philadelphia? I mean, isn't it obvious? This list that I'm offering you is just a partial list, but you realize this is what is taught. These perversions of reality, these are taught at college as if they are truths. The contempt for marriage. Maybe you don't know this, but when I was your age, when I was in college, the feminist movement was in its real heyday. And one of their mottos was, a woman without a man is like a fish without a bicycle. It's a very funny phrase. I will acknowledge it's very funny and staggeringly wrong, because men need women and women need men. Do you realize that if I spoke at a left-wing convention, or even the Democratic Party convention, which is now indistinguishable, it used to be liberal, the Democratic Party, it is now leftist. Do you realize that if what I just said, men need women and women need men, I would be booed? Do you understand? You cheered, they would boo. Do you understand the gulf between left and right in the United States? It is not bridgeable. Meanwhile, here is a fact. Even the left acknowledges there are more depressed young women in America today than at any time since they began measuring depression in women. It is all thanks to left-wing horrible advice. Marriage is unnecessary. It's a creation of patriarchy. It's a misogynist institution. Your great happiness in life is going to come from a career. Really, your great happiness will come from a career. Every week on my radio show on Wednesdays, the second hour is called the Male-Female Hour. And I talk very honestly about men and women and male-female issues. A 50 to 60-year-old woman, let's say 55, called my show. I have 1,000 columns on the internet. 20 years every week is 1,000. I never in my life wrote a column that I didn't write, except for one. All I did was to transcribe this woman's call that she made to me. Dennis, I have a PhD. I make well into six figures. I bought the whole idea that career is the source of happiness for a woman. I have a dog. But you know what? I come home to a house without a husband and without a child. I bought the feminist line, and I deeply regret it. It was a terrible idea. And they don't give a damn about women, which I said from my time in college. The feminist movement doesn't give a damn about women, and the proof, in case you needed proof, is that they don't come to bat for women in protecting women's sports. They're quiet. I wish the feminist movement was worthless. It is harmful. The idea that women and men are equal is as old as the Bible. God created the human being, male and female, he created them in God's image. There is no distinction. Then that's 3,500 years ago. Every decent person knows men and women are equal. We didn't need a feminist movement for that. That's not what feminism taught. If feminism taught to hate men and to believe that marriage is nonsense, that your happiness derives from your income. Oh, really? then why are so many young women who bought this line so unhappy? I did. I do. I tell them every day. Thank you. I have 2 minutes and 25 seconds left, so let me give you one more example. The University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League institution, which means nothing. Nothing. A few years ago, the Department of English, this is important, took down the mural of William Shakespeare, the greatest writer of the English language who ever lived. And do you know why? Not because he is not the greatest writer of English. The Department of English at that Ivy League university doesn't give a damn about English literature, just like feminist groups don't give a damn about women. They give a damn about crushing Western civilization. So what did they do? They took him down, and they said why? Because he's a dead, white, European male. But I thought the purpose of the Department of English was to teach English literature. What's the difference whether you are white or European or male? Did you write great literature is the only thing that matters. If you can't tell any of those things, then you can't tell the difference between Israel and Hamas. It would be like people in the late 30s saying, I can't tell the difference between England and Germany. That is how bad things are, that people can't tell the difference. Well, here is one simple difference that you could prove even to many of your relatives. Just ask this question. If Israel announced, we are laying down our arms and we will fight no longer, what would happen? And if Hamas and the Palestinians said, we are laying down our arms and we will fight no longer, what would happen? Well, we know what would happen. The day after Israel would announce it, Israelis would be wiped off the face of the earth. And the day after Hamas would make that announcement, there would be peace in the Middle East. Okay, everybody. God bless you. And please know, if you ever get down, the antidote to getting down is to fight. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Prescriptions for their cancer drugs because of the foreign costs.
My medication does not cost $2,500 a month. It costs $21,000 a month. But like $21,000 for one bottle?
Taking a bold and historic or dramatic action to reduce the price of prescription drugs for American patients and American seniors.
So what is the solution to all of this? Well, that is why Doug created America First Pharmacy.
This pharmacy program, you pay your monthly membership fee, you get access to the top 90% of the most utilized drugs in America. So you go to every pharmacy in the United States, put our membership card down, and you're going to walk out paying $0 for those.
America First Pharmacy works like a gym membership, where you pay an affordable monthly membership fee, and you get unlimited access to 90% of the most used prescription drugs in America. Of course, you still need a prescription, and it's already saving Americans a ton of money. America First Pharmacy is perfect for you if you don't have insurance or if you're functionally uninsured.
All right, guys. Who here knows what a PBM is?
A PBM? Is this like the pharmacy of Bill and Melinda?
Just as evil. A PBM is actually a pharmacy benefit manager. They're a company that sits between you, your medication, and your pharmacist. The largest PBM in 2022 made $833 million.
$833 million? Dude, that's crazy.
Per day, Riley.
Per day?
Every single day of 2022.
This has to be like a Dr. Fauci thing, right?
It could be. In fact, this year alone, the 3 largest PBMs were bragging that each of them made over $61 billion just in the first quarter of 2023.
$61 billion. We're talking, that's $250 billion. Bro, what are they doing with all this money?
I'm glad you asked. They're sending it right back to Washington, with over 60% of that money going right back to Democrat lawmakers.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, the largest PBM, called CVS Caremark, according to their 2022 political contributions, this is where they sent their money to. Democrat win seats PAC. The Democrat Party of New Mexico. The DNC itself. And worst of all, Nancy Pelosi.
Oh my gosh. You gotta be kidding me, man. So they're literally jacking up, the middlemen here are jacking up these prices, and then they're taking that money and funding the evil left?
That is correct.
Unbelievable. This probably was why Trump, one of his main priorities, if you guys remember, was to reduce overall prescription pain medications. So what are we talking about here?
Well, as you know, medications are incredibly expensive. In fact, now they're more expensive than they have ever been. A simple medication like a blood pressure pill, $774 a month. Medication for diabetes, $822 a month. Medication for osteoporosis, $131 a month. This one you might be familiar with.
There's one I didn't recognize that list before.
Viagra, $1,231 a month. Cialis, $2,205 a month.
This is crazy, man.
A medication like albuterol that's necessary, $33 for just a single inhaler. And medication for a headache, for example, Fioricet, over $722 a month.
So what are we talking about with America First Pharmacy then?
With America First Pharmacy, all you ever pay is your membership. $20 a month for an individual, $30 for your entire family.
You're saying all these medications they're free, completely free. I just have to pay a membership fee?
That's correct. Whether you need 1 prescription or 100 prescriptions, there is no cost to you. You simply pay your membership fee.
This sounds way too good to be true, man. What is it? Does it take like 3 to 4 weeks or something to get this, or what are we dealing with here?
All of your chronic medications delivered to your door within 1 to 3 business days via USPS.
1 to 3 days. I can get down with that. But considering I saw Viagra on the list there, let's say I had more of an acute problem and I needed that thing like tonight.
Acute?
Well, my wife thinks it's cute.
Riley, that sounds like more of a chronic problem. But let's say that you needed a medication like an antibiotic right away. If you wanted to get an antibiotic right away by your doctor, you can go to any of these pharmacies and pick up your antibiotic or other acute medications for $0 for free.
Amazing, amazing. Does this sound too good to be true? Right? Well, it is not. It is not. The reality is, guys, the reason our prescription pain medications are so high priced, they really don't have to be. It is because of these PBMs that get in the way, these middlemen that jack up these rates and then take that money to fund that evil left. And so, teaming up with Dr. Adam Sewell here, we've been able to actually do the math, because I didn't think this was going to work out, but the math actually works, and we're able to provide this. It's a simple membership fee. 20 bucks a month, actually 30 bucks a month for your entire family, and all of those prescription pain medications are free. I mean, come on. Is that good or what? So, as a part of being here with the Turning Point family and AmFest in general, we have actually even gone a step further, and we are providing this your first 30 days completely free. So if you grab your phone, you scan this QR code right here. You can always go to AmericaFirstMeds.com as well. And if you use this code today, AmFest, your very first month is completely free, meaning you can get your prescription filled, directly shipped to you before you ever spend $1 with your actual membership with America First Pharmacy. Is that good or what? All right. So AmericaFirstMeds.com, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily, live from Washington, D.C. I am Jack Pasovic.
This is what happens when the fourth turning meets fifth generation warfare.
A commentator, international social media sensation, and former Navy intelligence veteran.
This is Human Events with your host, Jack Pasovic.
Deliver us from evil.
Do not make peace with evil. Destroy it! I'm done trying to make peace with these people. I'm done trying, because you know what? We've tried. We've tried for so many years. We said we're going to be tolerant. We said we're going to be accepting. We said we're going to be liberal. You know what? I'm done with all of it. I think it's time for a healthy dose of illiberalism. Are you with me, folks? It's time for a healthy dose of reminding them who we are. Because we know who they are, but folks, it's time to talk about who we are. We are the men and women of the United States of America. We are our ancestors are the ones who built this country with their grit, with their determination, with their blood, sweat, and tears. And by God, I am not going to let them people take this country from us. We have come too far, and we have been pushing this for too long to just roll over and give up. I don't know how to give up. I don't know how to quit. I don't know how to surrender. I don't know how to make peace with evil. I don't know how to roll over and die and just take it. It's not in my DNA, and it's not in our DNA. They want you to forget our history. They want you to forget our heritage. They want you to forget who we are. They want to tell you that there's something wrong with you because you pray to Almighty God. They want to tell you that there's something wrong with you because your skin is too white. They're going to tell you that there's something wrong with you because you're too talented, because you have too much ambition, because you're too male, because you've got male. You know something? and I say this to all the guys, I think it's about time we start bringing the patriarchy back. I think it's time we start bringing back a little bit of the patriarchy. I'm not saying complete. To the ladies, we love the ladies, folks. We love the ladies. But I'm saying we need a little bit more balance. You know what I'm talking about? We need a little bit more balance. We've tried the matriarchy out for a little bit. They tried to go a little bit too far because they wanted to put Hillary Clinton up there. But someone intervened with that. And I do believe, right, we are demonizing men in this country and all across the West. We are demonizing specifically white Christian men. And I say to my two little boys, my two little white Christian boys, who have never done anything to anyone, you tell me why they should have to work twice as hard as anybody else because of the color of their skin or the fact that they believe in God or their gender. No, I'm done with all of it, and I'm not making peace with these people ever again. I can't do it. I can't, and I won't do it for them. And I say this to all the Turning Point students as well. I'm sick of it, and I'm sick of apologizing for the West. Why should we apologize for creating the modern world? Why should we apologize for creating technology, for building the cities, for exploring the stars? We're not apologizing for it. In fact, it's time we start celebrating it. It's time we start celebrating who we are, where we came from, the institutions that we have built and fought for, the wars we've won, and we're not apologizing for who we are. We are the Western civilization. We are the inheritors of it, and it's time we start acting like it. The West is the best, and they are not going to take our civilization from us. What can I say, folks? I'm a little energetic this morning. Maybe because I slept on a MyPillow last night. Promo code POSO. Never Tanya. No promo code. Do we have any promo code Tanya people here? All right. No, come on. I'm surrounded by treachery and wickedness. And Tanya, my own wife turning my own promo code against me. But I got to say, we do what? And she turns to me. She says, oh, I thought you were a capitalist. She's good. What can I say? She's good. I'll keep her around. I think I'll keep her around. But folks, that's the beauty of it, right? That's the beauty of America. That's the beauty of the West, the beauty of our ideals. They will sit there and tell you everything wrong, every little mistake, every time you forgot to cross an I, or, it's good, cross an I, dot an I, cross a T. They'll go through everything like that, but they will forget. They will forget the amazing things that the West has done and that the West has built. They will turn around and they will tell you that it's not the West that did this, and it wasn't the fact that our country was based on a simple set of principles. We have the Constitution, we have the Declaration, but that is not where the principles came from. The Constitution and the Declaration of Independence were enshrining the principles of the Holy Bible, which were handed to us and given to us by Almighty God. And it's as simple as that, folks. It's as simple as that. And they tell you that if you want to stand up for those things, that you're acting like a dictator. Like a dictator, right? That's the word that they keep saying all the time now. It's a dictator, it's a dictator. So let me go through the list of things that a dictator might do. I say, oh, a dictator. You mean like locking up your political opposition? Like banning your political opposition online? You mean like investigating the church with your secret police? You mean like starting wars that can't be finished? You mean like corrupting yourself and enriching yourself through the corruption of your family members? You mean a dictator like that? By the way, I'm not talking about Joe Biden. I'm talking about Vladimir Zelensky. Oops. You know, they said back in 1963, they said, in the future, we'll have levitating cars. But it turns out that today, the only thing Democrats are levitating are their own staffers on the Senate floor. Shots fired. Look. We've seen what they've done, right? The American Shaman, by the way, is here this weekend at America Fest. Did you see the American Shaman? He's here in full garb. He's got the horns back on, folks. You know, he hasn't had the horns on. The horns are back. The horns are back. And I asked him, I remember, I said to him, so I got to interview the American Shaman for the very first interview that he's done with the horns on, with his patriotic, his entire getup. And I said, why did you put the horns back on? What was it, Jake? What made you want to put them back on now? You know what he said to me? He said, Jack, because it's time. It's time. This is the time as we stand at the precipice of 2024, going into what we know will be one of the greatest challenges our nation has ever faced, and dare I say our civilization has ever faced. If we want to continue the West, we must attain victory for our values and principles in 2024. And I say it this way. They say when Alexander the Great, right, one of the greatest warriors and leaders of all time, they say right before he marched into the Persian Empire, that he held a massive banquet. He's in Anatolia. Now this was Turkey today. It was Anatolia then, the Greek Empire. And he brought together all of his lieutenants and all of his generals. And they called it the Gathering of the Macedonians. And he said, tonight we dine, for tomorrow we march. Well, I see before me here today, gathered in Arizona at Turning Point America Fest, a gathering of Macedonians today. You are the modern day Macedonians. You are the modern day political warriors. You are the modern day spiritual warriors, for we are in a spiritual battle. And I say to you here at America Fest, tonight we dine, tomorrow we march into Persia. Are you ready? Are you ready to fight? And I'll tell you something else. You remember those church moms back in the 1980s? All the church moms out there who were warning about the direction of our country. They said our country is becoming demonic. They said our country is becoming satanic. They all warned us. All those church moms in the 1980s. And what did the establishment say? The establishment told them to shut up. The establishment told them to pipe down. They said, be quiet. They said, we don't need to worry about you, you church moms in the 1980s. Well, let me tell you something. We're the sons and daughters of those church moms of the 1980s. Now you got something to worry about. Because you will not tell us to shut up. And they raised us. Now you got a problem. And because when we see the celebration of the demonic, when we see the celebration of the satanic on public display, in after-school programs, in public meeting halls, and even the Iowa State Capitol, with a statue of Satan and a ritual altar to Satan on public display. I say I can't tolerate evil anymore, and someone has to do something about this. Well, I got a little surprise for you, America Fest, because someone did do something about that. And that someone is here today, all the way from Des Moines, Iowa. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Cassidy.
Amen. Thanks for having me, dude.
Let's hear it again from Michael Cassidy.
How many of y'all agree with me that our country should reject the devil? How many of y'all agree with me that our nation should honor God? If you are a Christian, please do not be ashamed of your faith. The world tells us to be ashamed of our faith. The world teaches us to keep that light under the bushel. That's not what Jesus tells us to do, though. Jesus tells us to not be ashamed of him and of his words. This is what I want to come from this moment. I want Christians to reinvigorate their faith. I want you to talk to your fellow Christians, get them into church, get involved in church, and to the non-Christians out there. Talk to your fellow Christians, your friends. Figure out, why do we believe what we believe? Why do we have such passion that we are willing to risk jail, to risk our jobs, in order that the devil is not tolerated?
Not again.
No.
Michael, tell us just briefly, what was it like when you walked into the Iowa State Capitol and you saw before you at Christmas time that statue and that altar?
It was an abomination. I was surprised. There's almost nobody. There's one man in there. I would have thought that there would have been, a politician to yell at, to say, hey man, take this down, security guard or something, but there was nobody there. It was just that evil statue that was there to influence families, to influence children. One of the bits of hate mail that I got actually after this was from an Iowa father. And he told me that he was mad at me for doing what I did because he could not show his daughter the satanic icon at the state capitol. How far has our nation fallen if that is the kind of mentality that we have from people, from men and women in our country today? And that's another thing that I want to come from this, is for people to wake up. For us to wake up, to understand that there is evil in the world. The devil is real. And we can't ignore them. The Satanists, they may think it's a game. They may think it's just a big joke to, trigger us. But the devil's real, and we have to be wary of him.
Amen. And you notice what he said. You notice what the man said. They always target the children. They always go for the children. The youngest among us, whether it's for the drag queen story hours, whether it's satanic ritual worship, or worse, and if you've seen the movie Sound of Freedom, you may know. Which, by the way, you guys don't mind if I drop some receipts while I'm here, do you? Sound of Freedom, they just posted their latest box office number. $250 million worldwide. It is now the #1 movie of the entire year. #1. And it's very simple, folks. God's children are not for sale. Not in the Iowa State Capitol, not on the border, not in Ukraine with the organ trafficking and the child trafficking. No, it is time for Christians to rise up and fight back. It's time. And I said when this happened in the Iowa State Capitol, gotta say, not only did God send a fellow Navy man, but God sent an Irishman. Michael, what would your message be to those out there, and we just have a few closing minutes, what would your message be to those who say that we need to be tolerant, we need to be accepting the blessings of liberty, the First Amendment? What would your message be to that?
First of all, there is no equivalency between God and the devil. They are the polar opposites. And we should not listen to those who tell us that Satan and Jesus Christ, that they're the same. So those are that's the big thing, is that it's easy to come up with, big logical arguments one way or the other. But at its simple core, it really is this simple. God is great, the devil is evil, and we should reject him. Reject the devil.
Amen. Well, let's close with that, folks. As we like to say at the church I go to, ladies and gentlemen, do you reject Satan and all his works?
Yes.
Are you prepared to do battle on the spiritual plane?
Yes.
Are you prepared to put on the full armor of God?
Yes.
Are you prepared to go up with the sword of St. Michael the Archangel, leading us into that battle? Are you prepared to defend the Constitution, the Declaration, our ancestors, our heritage, and our American nation? Are you prepared to go all the way? Are you prepared to do what must be done? Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you right now, when I see this army of Macedonians before me, we will win. Yes.
And face consequences for that.
They usually weaponize harassment policies and bias reporting systems to target and investigate and discipline students for their constitutionally protected speech.
Oftentimes they define a bias incident as statements that are unfair and prejudicial. Jokes, stereotyping, microaggressions, not using gender-inclusive language. In some cases, even offending someone's political affiliation is a reportable offense.
These law schools being taken over by DEI administrators, and they're starting to push a lot of these concepts in law schools and medical schools because they do expect to infiltrate this upper crust.
And I'm not a cynic to ask this, is the juice worth the squeeze?
We are building a nationwide network of people who are fighting the forces of speech silencers.
A petition from Speech First, a First Amendment group, called for the dean's removal. Well, now the dean is on leave.
We can sue universities on behalf of students.
Texas State University being sued for allegedly violating students' First Amendment rights due to, quote, overbroad student conduct policies.
The lawsuit says in part, quote, instead of promoting the robust exchange of ideas, universities are now more interested in protecting students from ideas that make them uncomfortable.
You are doing God's work in the devil's kitchen.
You still have it. You're on your A game. What we're doing in Texas is working. My top 3 priorities are jobs,
priority is not stopping the criminals. Their priority is disarming law-abiding citizens.
The risk of a terror attack today in the United States of America is greater than it has been any day since 9/11.
It's utterly incoherent what they're doing.
The answer to fight back on every one of these institutions is to take them back and throw the lunatics out.
God bless Turning Point. All right, the fellow here reminded me last time I was here, I introduced myself to the crowd. I said, I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronouns are kiss my ass. And I got to say, it was pretty wild, because after I did that, Roseanne Barr, who was here, she put on a comedy special, and she stood up on TV and she said, I'm Roseanne Barr and my pronouns are kiss my ass. And I was like, hot diggity damn, I work in the Senate, but I get to write jokes for professional comedians on the side. Look, I got to say, as we gather here today, I'm inspired looking around this room. And the forces of darkness are terrified. I'm here to tell you two very simple things. Number one, the world has gone nuts. Look, we have John Fetterman paying George Santos to tell Bob Menendez to leave the Senate. That's real. By the way, I did observe DeMarco Rubio. I said, listen, I'm really glad that the two of us are 2/3 of the Cuban-American caucus. We're the 2/3 that haven't been indicted. And in Bob's defense, it is true that as Cubans, we carry gold bars wherever we go. Listen, we have a president of the United States who his team carries extra pairs of pants with him when he travels, in case he has poopy pants. I want you to pause and think how the enemies of America are feeling. Depends. We have Democrat staffers in Senate hearing rooms practicing wrestling. By the way, I got to say, Eric Swalwell looked over and said, why didn't I think of that? And listen, we have the president of Harvard, who is a black woman. She is an African-American studies professor, and her name is Gay. She could literally stand in front of Congress and say, I hate Jews, and nothing would happen. Oh, wait a second, she did. Look, the world has gone nuts. But I want to tell you also there's an encouragement that when the world has gone nuts, people are ready to open their eyes. I told you that I feel inspired. I feel inspired because you are the red pill. You are the answer. You are the solution. Young people. You know, I look across this room. There's a reason the left fears you. You know, some of y'all know my dad, Rafael Cruz. He was born, he grew up in Cuba, and as a teenager, when he was 14, my dad began fighting in the Cuban Revolution. And my father was imprisoned. He was tortured in Cuba as a teenager. He fled Cuba in 1957. He came to America. He came to Texas. He had nothing. Had $100 in his underwear. By the way, don't carry money in your underwear. That's kind of nasty. He got a job washing dishes, making 50 cents an hour. And he worked full time. He paid his way through school. The interesting thing that my father told me about the Cuban Revolution is it was all people like him. It was all 14 and 15-year-old boys who didn't know any better. And one thing to understand, Marxists always, always, always start with young people. If you look at every communist revolution across the face of the globe, from Russia to China to Cuba, to Nicaragua. They always start with young people who are passionate, who are idealistic, who are ready to fight, and in many instances, who lack the life experience to have wisdom and do not realize the lies behind Marxism. That is why y'all are so dangerous. Because you have the youth and the passion and the vitality, and you don't have your head stuck up your rear end. You know, Winston Churchill famously said, if you're 20 and not a liberal, you have no heart. And if you're 40 and not a conservative, you have no brain. I look across this stadium and I see a whole bunch of young people who got your brains early. So I want to talk to you today about how we defeat cultural Marxism. Cultural Marxism has seized every major institution in America. It has seized universities, it has seized K through 12, it seized journalism and government and big business and big tech and entertainment, Hollywood, TV, movies, sports, music, science. Cultural Marxism is everywhere. I want to talk to you today about how we defeat it. There are three tools to defeat cultural Marxism. The first is transparency and sunlight. I want you to understand the ideas of the radical left, they are wildly unpopular. They don't make any sense. Normal, rational people don't think abolishing the police is a good idea. Normal, rational people don't think open borders and the chaos at our southern border makes any sense. Normal, rational people do not find it difficult to answer the question, what is a woman? By the way, for all of history, that didn't used to be a trick question. Like, go into any era, go 10 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. Go walk on the streets of Jerusalem 1,000 years before Christ. Say, excuse me, sir, what is a woman? And I don't care who you stop, they're going to look at you like, what kind of idiot are you? And here's one of the things to understand. The other side knows it. They don't actually believe this nonsense. Joe Biden knows what a woman is. I'll give you proof. He only sniffs the hair of girls. Not once has he walked behind a dude and sniffed his hair. He can figure it out. And I'll tell you right now, I am absolutely certain Bill Clinton knows what a woman is. And any of y'all who are women, my advice is don't be alone in a room with him. They know it's nonsense. Look, how many of y'all remember during COVID the ridiculous rules that these idiots put upon us? Masks. By the way, I flew last night from Texas to Phoenix. There were still morons wearing masks. And I actually appreciate it. I'm like, oh, you a crazy person. All right, well, thank you for telling me that. That's like wearing a sign. Just, okay, you're out of your mind. And look, there were Democrats in the Senate who were wearing masks, and my complaint was they weren't tight enough. I could still hear them. But think of the stupidity. All right, remember the restaurant rules. When you had restaurants that had rules on masks, what were the rules? When you walk into the restaurant, you must wear your mask. Why? Because of science. Until you sit down. In which case you could take your mask off You could slobber, you could backwash, you could French kiss whoever was next to you. It was all fine. Why? Because of science. And I actually have a theory on this. My theory is the COVID virus reacts to altitude. At 6 feet, it is deadly. At 3 feet, it is healthy and a tonic for the bones. By the way, that's how come Fauci was safe. He's only 5 feet tall. But my point is, everybody knew this was nonsense. That's the power of transparency. That's the power of shining lights. And I want to encourage each of you, use your light to shine a light on the stupidity. Look, for years, the morons who run San Francisco, although I repeat myself, they said there's nothing we can do. We can't help crime on the street. We can't help homelessness. We can't help drug use. We can't help people having poopy pants like Joe Biden. There's nothing we can do. We're powerless until what? The president of China comes, hot diggity damn, clean it all up, you're under arrest, get out of here, spick and span. Now, I want you to do something difficult. I want you to put yourself in the mind of a lefty San Francisco resident who believes all the garbage. Is there not a tiny, tiny voice in the back of your head that says, wait a second, if today the streets can be clean, if today I don't have to step over a drug user with a needle stuck in him, maybe, just maybe, tomorrow they can do that. And more importantly, if they could do it for the president of China, why couldn't they do it for me? You know, I was sitting backstage. I was listening to Dennis Prager a few minutes ago. Dennis is fabulous. And he pointed out the left doesn't care about the people they claim to care about. They don't care about women. Let me ask you, have you seen one leftist talk about the women who were raped in Israel on October 7th? Those women don't matter to them. It's all politics. The left don't care about kids. Have you seen one leftist talk about the little boys and little girls being assaulted by human traffickers on the border every single day? They don't talk about it. They don't care. And they don't even care about their own constituents. If they cared about the people of San Francisco, they'd say, maybe we'll take the murderers off the street so that you're not physically assaulted. And Dennis also said, you know, if you can't tell the difference between Israel and Hamas, that's a problem. It's even worse than that, though. They can tell the difference between Israel and Hamas. And as a matter of politics, they side with Hamas. I want you to understand cultural Marxism. Cultural Marxism is the view, started really in the 60s and 70s in our universities and spread to every institution in America. It is the view that everything can be explained in terms of oppressors and victims. Marx started off socioeconomically with the oppressors being the owners of capital and the victims being the proletariat, the working men and women, and the solution the Marxists support is the violent revolution of the so-called victims against the so-called oppressors. When the Marxists invaded the university starting in the 60s, the virus and the universities are the Wuhan lab of the woke virus. They are where the virus was created, and they're where it mutated. It went from there to critical race theory, same oppression matrix, except instead of socioeconomics, it's race. With victims and oppressors, it went from there to gender and gender ideology and sexual orientation, things like queer theory. Again, it came back to oppression. The oppressor is always wrong, and the so-called victim is always right, and violence is justified against the so-called oppressor. And if you want to understand the vicious anti-Semitism on the left, if you want to understand the squad who chants from the river to the sea, yes, we understand you hate Jews. It's not complicated. We got your message. If you want to understand the horrible anti-Semitism we are seeing on campuses right now, it is because to the cultural Marxist, Jews are coded as oppressors, and Palestinians are coded as victims. And for the cultural Marxists, that means they celebrate the violent revolution of the so-called victim against the so-called oppressor. But I talked to you about the power of transparency. I think millions of people across America are watching these people celebrating monsters who committed horrific acts, mass murders, over 1,200 people killed in a single day, the largest mass murder of Jews in a day since the Holocaust. And these idiot leftists are cheering. 35 student groups at Harvard right after October 7th put out a statement that said 100% of the crimes, all of the murders, all of the women and children raped, all of the babies slaughtered, all of that is 100% the fault of Israel. Not only that, Black Lives Matter, another Marxist organization. The Chicago chapter tweeted out a picture of a paraglider, along with the statement, "We stand with Palestine." To be clear, the paragliders were what the Hamas terrorists used to come in and murder 200 innocent people, mostly teenagers, at an outdoor concert. That is who the left is, and so the power of transparency is important. And we're at a moment, we're at an inflection point. I'm having conversations all the time with people of the left, with men and women of the left, and they're looking at what's going on, and it's making them uneasy. They're saying, wait a second, why are the people that I'm supposed to agree with cheering on this evil? I want to encourage you, use your power to shine a light. There's a second thing we can do to win the battle, and that is to change the ledger, change the pros and cons of going woke. I have a new book that just came out called Unwoke. I talk about what happened with Disney and what happened with Bud Light and what happened with Target. Let me ask y'all, before the scandal erupted, how many of y'all used to drink Bud Light? That's a fair number of hands. How many of y'all drink Bud Light now? There's not a hand in the room. All right. It is amazing. You had a bunch of woke executives who looked down on their customers and said, you guys are a bunch of ignorant rubes. We don't like you. We don't respect you. We're going to condescend to you. We're going to jam our politics down your throat, and you're going to shut up and like it. And Kid Rock set up a stack of cases and started firing some rounds into it. And they lost tens of billions of dollars. Target lost tens of billions of dollars. Disney, it is so bad they just have to put in their recent stock statements with the SEC a warning to investors. Our politics are so bad, our customers hate it, and we've lost billions, and we're going to probably continue losing billions because we care about our politics more than making money. That's how we take these institutions back. We increase the cost. And the third thing we do is take back the organs of transmission of ideas. Now that means a couple of things. It means, number one, if you're young, create a new outlet. Create Turning Point. Grow Turning Point. Create a YouTube channel. Get online and create social media. Use humor, use comedy. You can connect with young people better than every politician in Washington. You have a voice. Look, Elon Musk buying Twitter. Was the single most important step for free speech in decades. So there are creative minds here who find a way. Look, your fellow young people don't like prigs, Puritans who want to control their life, exercising control. You know, how many radical leftists does it take to screw in a light bulb? That's not funny! The left is so bad. They're so unhappy. They're so pissed off. And by the way, if you were a liberal woman and you had to sleep with those weenies, you'd be pissed too. So respond with joy. Have fun. Too many Republicans run around like they got a stick inserted somewhere it doesn't belong. Like, just laugh. All right, some of y'all may have seen. There's a meme online. It's a picture of me. It says, "This man ate my son." I saw it. I retweeted it. I said, he was delicious. And leftists cannot stand it. When you're a happy warrior, they stamp their little feet. And they get so unhappy. And that's how we win. So I'm going to close like I started. You are why I'm optimistic. You are the red pill. You are the voice to your classmates. You are the voice to your friends. You are the voice to America. You are the voice for freedom. You are the voice for the Constitution. You, Turning Point, the young men and women of America. You are how we bring America back. Thank you, and God bless you.
Because you are in a chapter, you're the leaders of a chapter, you're looking to start a chapter.
You took your college and high school years and you decided to stand for truth, to save the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world.
Remind yourselves that you all have the capability to grow your chapters to unimaginable heights so they can network, get the resources they need, learn how to be effective activists on campus.
These will be your guide to each week to help you table and host events.
Events like this, I hope that they motivate you so that when you go home, you can have events of your own.
You want every other group on campus to look at your chapter and say, how are they doing that?
What we're doing at Turning Point USA, we say that chapters change the world.
Chapters change the world.
Chapters change the world, and we believe that.
You're only a loser if you accept losing. Winners never quit and quitters never win.
You're fighting for things that will honestly decide whether or not this civilization continues. And it all happens in the high schools and the college campuses. You are the left's worst nightmare.
You must pursue the truth every single time you get the chance. It's absolutely necessary not just that you speak the truth, but that you love the truth.
Right now in America,
especially the young people, have no idea what it means to be oppressed.
When the bad guys surround you on campus, call you names, and try to cancel you, and try to kick you off campus, we will have your back 100%. That's what we do at Turning Point USA.
I mean, you're in the headlines and you're all over Twitter, obviously, and on social media.
Huge force in the conservative movement.
I love the common sense and wisdom that he provides.
You're not the type of guy that's going to slow down. We have the great Charlie.
This room is the greatest room of untapped potential the Republic has ever seen. At Turning Point USA, we play offense with a sense of urgency. We want a country where our kids love America again. We're the greatest country ever to exist in the history of the world. You have to recognize that the left is a destructive force in our country. All they care about is force and power. Tonight is a statement to them that they're the losers and that speech wins in America. You are seeing a conservative movement that is growing stronger the more they fight. This room can change America.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. You know, thank you, everybody. You know, we do this whole stage, and the team said, do you want to do the full intro? I said, oh, why not? You put all this together, why not? It's just great. So, have you guys had a great America Fest? Has this not been amazing? Wow. We have a lot of fun stuff to cover here, including all of our straw poll results. So don't go anywhere. I'm going to try to do this so that people can still catch their flights. But first, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for your attention. Thank you for your dedication these last couple of days. You didn't have to be here. It's right before Christmas. You did not have to come all the way to Phoenix, Arizona, and say, I want to be a better patriot. I want to be a better citizen. And so thank you. You guys have just been amazing these last couple of days. Secondly, and I'm going to say this repeatedly, on your way out, please say thank you to a Turning Point USA staff member. They have been amazing these last couple of days. They are on no sleep to make sure that you guys had a game-changing experience here at Turning Point USA. So we're doing this for the first time ever. You know, we talk about how amazing our students are at Turning Point USA, that are starting high school chapters, that are starting college chapters. And I turned to our team, I said, why don't we celebrate some of our top students here at America Fest as we close it out? And these students are rock stars. They're on the front lines. They are experiencing opposition. And so we are doing our first ever Student Patriot Awards here as we close out America Fest for our top 2 high school students, our top 2 college students, and then our best high school chapter and our best college chapter. And so the Student Patriot Awards, to get this is a big deal. We have 1,800 chapters across the country, 600,000 student activists. So this is the creme de la creme. These are the students that are above and beyond, that are really leading the charge. And so I know we have our team coming out here to come give some of these awards. And so the first award here, let's get it on screen to make sure I get this right. Let's see. Diane Jimenez from Miami, TPUSA at Barbara Goldman Senior High School. This guy is amazing. Come on out here, Diane. Give it up for Diane. He's doing a great job. Which way did they tell you? So, Diane is a son of immigrants. He does an amazing job. He hosted a 300-person rally at his high school. And it's a minority-majority high school where he is leading a Turning Point USA chapter, and he is a great leader, and a majority Hispanic high school. It's one of the most popular chapters in the country. Great job, Diane. Great job. Next we have Hannah Faulkner, President, Rutherford County Activism Hub. Give it up for Hannah, everybody. So Hannah hosted an amazing event in Nashville, right, where she brought Chloe Cole all against the mutilation of children. And she stood against all this trans stuff with a lot of courage. She experienced serious backlash, serious opposition. And Hannah, you had 500 people come there, and you're doing a great job. Congratulations, Hannah Faulkner. Now for our college student awards. Let's see what we have here. Lily Orozco. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. President of University of Pittsburgh, TPUSA. Orozco, I'm sorry about that. Let's get a picture. Lily brought Riley Gaines to campus. We love Riley, don't? She's great. And also James O'Keefe and Brandon Tatum. And Lily's doing a great job in Pittsburgh despite huge opposition. Congratulations, Lily. You're doing a great job. And now our last student award for college. Landon Alex, come on out here. North Dakota State University. Anybody from North Dakota here? A couple North Dakotan Patriots. And Landon brought Candace Owens to campus, and we love Candace. Multiple massive events, and they're continuing to make a significant impact. So these are our 4 student award winners. Give it up for them, high school and college. Stay there, guys. Okay. So now we're going to honor our 2 superstar chapters. These are groups and teams that go above and beyond, high school and college. And now our first high school, and I met these young men, I'll tell you, I've said for a while that the boys of this generation of Gen Z are the most conservative that we have seen in 50 years. And there is no better example of this than these boys from Georgia. They are young, they are scrappy, they're energetic, right, Nick? They're unbelievable. And they've won our best chapter, high school chapter of the year award. Let's get them up. Our legacy chapter award, TPUSA at Johns Creek High School. Come on out, guys. They're doing a great job. Congrats, guys. Congrats. They want you? Okay, great. Okay, we'll go right here. Congrats, guys. Oh, you're going over there? Okay. And by the way, one of the things they did is they got rid of the Pledge of Allegiance. They fought to bring it back, and they won at their local high school. And finally, our Legacy Chapter Award for TPUSA College. Let's see. Auburn University, War Eagle, they say. Come on out here. They have hosted some of the biggest events. I'm so proud of them. One of our best, the #1 college chapter in the country. Congrats, guys. Yeah, thank you, guys. Let's get a picture here. Right here. Let's all get a group picture together, okay? Just let's all of us together, okay? All right, let's all of us get a group picture, guys, okay? I'm gonna get right in the middle. Can we get a picture of this, guys? Thank you. Give it up one more time for our amazing Turning Point USA students, everybody. Great job, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Does that not give you hope? I mean, it's just amazing what they're doing. And for those of you out there that are like, boy, I'm a student, and get involved. Get involved, everybody. Start a high school chapter. Start a college chapter. Go to the booth afterwards and just say, I want to sign up. I want to get engaged. I want to get involved. All right. Who wants to know our straw poll results, everybody? Okay. I got to take out my phone here to make sure I do this right. Because it's all happening in real time. This stuff's going to make national news. You guys all are going to make national news. I'll tell you what. It's great. So let's see here. Okay, the first one. So, all right, first question. But this is brought to you by Turning Point Action, by the way. If Donald Trump wins the Republican nomination for president, who do you think he should choose for vice president? Tucker Carlson, 35% of the vote. How about that? Vivek Ramaswamy, 25%. And 2.4% Nikki Haley. I want to meet you. I want to say hello. Tucker Carlson, 35% as the vice presidential choice for Donald Trump. Next question. Do you believe Joe Biden will be the Democrat nominee for president? 47% of you say nope, we don't think so, and 30% say yes, and 22.4% unsure. All right, let's see the next one here. Do you approve or disapprove of the vote to expel George Santos? Answers all across. A majority of you disapprove, 37% approve, and 21% say we are not sure. All right, next one. This is a little bit confusing here, so I'm going to have to walk you through it. Do you support providing form to Israel, Ukraine, or both countries, or neither country? So let me try to work through this here. So the Ukraine, I think, if I'm seeing this correctly, I think 0.2% of you want to send weapons to Ukraine. Oh, 5%. Oh, okay, so 95% of you do not want to send weapons to Ukraine. Is it? Based on your applause, I get that as well. I'm just trying to figure out this chart alongside of you guys. Most of you guys are in support of Israel, looks like, according to this. And 80% of you say no U.S. troops on the ground either in Israel or Ukraine. 80% of you guys say that. I see. Got it. Not a lot of popularity for the Ukraine issue here. All right, next. All right, which issues facing the country are the most important? At AmericaFest, the most important issue for you is securing the southern border and deporting the people that are in this country. That's amazing. Number 2, election integrity, making sure that we have safe and secure elections. And then, number 3, dismantling and defunding the deep state. I love that. And number 4 gives me hope. We got to cut spending, reducing the national debt, and then defunding these foreign wars. And then finally, this is a good one, getting rid of DEI in all of our departments in our government. You guys have great priorities, I got to tell you. Let's go to the next. Do you think Ronna McDaniel should step down as chair of the RNC? What do you guys think? You guys think she should step down? 87% say yes, 10% unsure, God bless you, and 2.8% say you think she should stay. So probably the Nikki Haley people too, you know, the Nikki, that's okay, glad you're here. Maybe you learned something these couple days. Next one, let's go. Would Ronna stepping down as chair make you more or less likely to donate to the RNC? 56% of you say that if Ronna stepped down as head of the RNC, you would consider donating to the RNC again. That is amazing, by the way. That right there proves that if they want to solve their donation crisis, that 56% of you would consider giving money to the RNC again. 42% of you say, nope, I'm done, I'm never giving to the RNC. Regardless, I appreciate the honesty and the candor. All right, next. Here's the big one. Donald Trump, you guys want, 82% of you want him to be the next president of the United States. So let's go through this. If the Republican primary was held today, who would you vote? 82% say Donald Trump, 7% Ron DeSantis, Vivek 5.8%, and 1.1% for Nikki Haley. 0.1% for Chris Christie. Who are you? I want to meet you. I want a selfie with you. They're here somewhere. Donald Trump with 82.6% of the support here at AmericaFest. All right, everybody, those are the results of our straw poll. I want to kind of summarize all this together. I open up with a call to action. Here I am, the biblical phrase, Hanani, of Lord, use me. After this, many of you are going to get in the car and drive home or go have a flight. And, you know, the enthusiasm of AmericaFest, it will stay, but it won't just be the same. Make sure that it translates into action. Write down what you are going to do. Your New Year's resolution needs to be directly connected with the enthusiasm and the life life-changing commitments that you have made here these last couple of days. Keep these relationships strong. For the booths that you visited, the commitments you made, the promises you made to become a precinct committeeman, to start a Turning Point USA chapter, to get involved in TPUSA Faith, to get involved in Turning Point Academy. Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action are the launching off points for the entire conservative movement. And I mentioned this in my opening speech, I'll say it again, that Turning Point USA, we obviously are hosting AmFest. This is only one of many things we do. It's a small part of what we do. Starting chapters, being on the ground, boots on the ground. In addition, Turning Point Action, as I said, we are going to be hosting the People's Convention this June so that you, the people, get a convention, not just lobbyists and oligarchs coming into June. So I just want to express my gratitude for all of you. Make this square one. Say that I am going to work as hard as I possibly can in 2024. I'm going to do my part. I'm going to support the good guys. I'm going to stay in the arena. I'm going to do everything I can. And thank you for those of you that have helped Turning Point USA financially. We have 300,000 donors that make this event possible. We have 300,000 of you that pitch in $10, $20. So if you're able to do that, thank you. But if you're being squeezed by inflation, I totally understand. Support us through prayer, through fasting, through activism. Whatever you can, do your part. This has been the best, the greatest, the biggest, and the most impactful, and the best run, by the way, event in Turning Point USA history, and I believe in conservative movement history. Nothing's coming even close to this, right? And you've all played a part. This is the beginning of your action, the beginning of your step forward. And Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action, through all of our programming, we are here to help you make the difference. We are here to help you as a student make an impact on campus. You make an impact in your neighborhood through Turning Point Action to hold your elected leader accountable. 11 years ago, I was sitting in a garage in Lamont, Illinois with no money, no connections, and no idea what I was doing. And now this is the largest movement of its kind in the country. Somebody in this room has a vision for something big, like Turning Point USA. Are you going to make that step? That 11 years from now, something big and impactful can grow out of that commitment. It would have been a shame 11 years ago if I had the idea for Turning Point and someone said, it's not worth it, don't do it. It's not worth it, don't grow it. I'm here to tell you today, take that risk, take that leap of faith, stay involved, trust God, and act obediently. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for a wonderful couple days. Thank you so much.
The world is on fire. Extremism is growing here in America at rapid rates. Terrorist groups like Hamas continue to kill women and children, and university professors are defending it. Why are you paying these terrorist sympathizers to educate your kids? Learn more about the scam of college with my book, The College Scam, and learn about the dangers of sending your kids to college.
For a gift of any amount, get your copy today at tpusa.com.
What would you say if we told